To Real Fish Talk 34 with my co-host Joel.
That is I.
And our guest today, Zach of Koi.com or Pan Intercorp.
Hey everybody.
Yeah, he just got back. Well, not just, but he judged at the 49th, as the plaque says here, All Japan Koi Show. Is that the biggest show? Or
it's the biggest koi show and also the most important koi show in the world every year.
So, and what makes it the most important?
It's the opportunity for the breeders and the dealers to showcase the best of what they have. So it's a really super good marketing tool for a lot of breeders and farms and stuff, and gets people's names out there. And
all right,
hobbyists are also, it's a big deal for hobbyists too. I mean, obviously it's the Super Bowl of koi shows. So
how many people show up to? So it's held in Japan.
Yep.
But how many people would you say, well, how long is the event, and how many people would you say go?
The event is, to the public, it's open for 2 days, but they start setting up for the show on a Wednesday and it ends on a Sunday. Okay. So it's quite a long deal. It takes a team of, I think they said almost 150 people,
wow,
to combine to kind of put the whole thing together. So it's quite a lot of people. That happens on a Wednesday. Thursday is where the benching happens and all the fish come in. Friday is judging. Saturday is a day that's open to the public, and then Sunday is the award ceremony and everything. So it's quite a big deal.
And so like a show here, we might get 5,000-6,000 people. How many of the public do you think wander through there? Is it there's a handful, or is it oh no, this is the deal? It's the Super Bowl.
It is the Super Bowl in terms of the quality and all of that of the koi, but really the walk-through traffic, it's not crazy high. I mean, I would say some shows in other parts of the world probably are more people that come through it, but maybe a few thousand roll through on the couple of days they're open. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's growing, so every year it seems that there's more and more and more people coming through. But
and how many shows, whether it's this show or another show or something like that, have you judged roughly?
Probably close to 20 at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, American shows and stuff like that. In Japan, only 3. So yeah, this particular show twice. The last time I judged this show was in 2003, actually. So it's been a long span in between the two. I think it said 2003.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it was
2003.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time, but it's kind of the biggest koi show in the world. So when you're invited to come, it's kind of a.
Oh, so the last one you did was in 2003?
Yep,
That's
03.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
That's a 15-year span.
That was 15 years ago. So,
that's crazy to me, because I mean, I've only known you for probably 5-6 years, maybe.
Yeah.
But 15 years ago, you're not that much older than me. That makes you pretty young to be judging.
Yeah, when I started in koi, it was 21 years ago.
Okay.
So
and how old did that make you? 16?
39 now, I think. Or 38. 39.
So
I'm getting so old I can't remember now.
You started 21 years ago and you're 39 now?
Mm-hmm. I could get it. That was when I could get a job.
You were 18.
Yeah,
you're 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the math.
Yeah, well, brain, I was in my mind, I was wait, 14? That can't be. And then I was 18.
Wait, 8? Wait,
yeah.
What? Yeah. Huh?
So, I know I've heard the story, but how did you... So, you own Koi.com at this point.
I do, yeah.
But how did you get into koi? Because 18 years old, koi guy. Well, at 18, you're judging. That means you got started early.
Well, I was judging a little further along. I think I had been into it for 6 or 7 years, and then I got the opportunity to judge. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And but I got into koi, kind of fell into it actually. When I could first get a job, my dad told me you need to go down to this pet store that's opening up and apply, and I was like,
"Were you into pets?"
Dad. I had kept fish a lot, but we didn't have any dogs or cats or anything, but I had always had an aquarium. And, I wasn't going to have it. I wasn't going to listen to my dad. So he forced me to go down there one day, drove me down there and sat there while I filled out an application. And they said, well, we have a spot open in the fish department. I was like, oh, cool, perfect.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about fish, right? So I got a job there. And there was a dude that worked there who at the time was like, he's probably in his 30s. And I thought, this guy's like an old dude, right?
Yeah.
Like now I don't. Anyway, so
now I don't feel
that
that
guy
way.
wasn't so
I don't
old,
feel that
man.
so much now.
And I thought he was like super rich and stuff because he had a brand new car. And he always had
And he's
this
working
like
at the pet
fancy
store?
stuff. Yeah, he's working at the pet store. Like, when you're 16,
Yeah.
you're not putting all this stuff together,
Yeah.
right? And he had an aquarium maintenance business on the side, which I kind of came to find out later when I got older that he was just poaching people from the pet
Yeah.
store, which was really bad. But he was making all this money on the side doing this aquarium maintenance thing. And he had to move to Minnesota or something for some family deal. And he kind of said, well, here, I'll show you how to do aquarium maintenance and you can have my customers so you can keep doing it. Sweet. So I started doing that a little bit, and I actually started getting more and more customers. And one of my customers owns a car dealership, or was my customer, owned a car dealership and had an aquarium at his house too. And I started taking care of his aquarium at his house and dealership, and he had a pond. That's the first time I had ever seen koi. And the guy's a Japanese American, and he had bought his koi through the company that I now own.
Okay.
So he introduced me to the dude who owned it before.
Yep.
And then he just kind of was on the phone with him. He's like, yeah, you got to hire this kid, man. He's got like invoices and business cards and stuff. Like, he's a real deal. So I got a job there. I pushed that off for a long time, though. I wasn't going to take that job because I was making pretty good money doing the aquarium maintenance thing. And I was also going to school, so it really didn't work out. And then finally I gave in and took a part-time job there, and now I own the place. Yeah, never
left. Did you
left.
ever leave at all?
No,
Did you ever get another job?
Uh-uh.
Wow. So from age 18 to now, it's all been the same
all been
business
koi.
career.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. At what point did you start like running day-to-day operations for?
Probably 12 years ago. or
Okay.
so now, yeah, probably 12 or 13 years ago, and then bought the business 20 years into it. So actually, last year was our first year, full year. We
Nice.
started in December of 2016, and now we've made it through 2017 and did really well. So
So I know that I've talked to you, and I don't know if you went through this, but I know that, I don't know if it's common, but there's like exchange programs, right? Where someone from, let's say, the Japanese koi farm will send a son or someone from the family or something like that to come work over here.
Yep.
And then does that go the other way too? And then have you done that?
it does, and I did. It was for short stints, so I wasn't able to stay in Japan for long extended periods of time because of work and school and family and
Okay.
everything. So I'd go there for a little period during maybe breeding season.
And would that be
during-
like
it
a
was
couple
like
weeks or?
spring? It'd be like, yeah, it'd be kind of a couple of month period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so during the spring is a time when they're breeding. It usually starts in about April or May. It kind of depends on the weather, and then that'll run up until about June, and then the breeding season will kind of end at that point. So I'd bailed at that point, and then another time came in a little bit later in the year to just kind of experience the farm and everything at a
And do
totally
you
different
actually
time.
work like,
Yeah.
as in like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
go pull that fish, go
Yeah,
do this
yeah.
thing.
You're just part of the staff at that point, so you work the same everybody else does. Yeah, and it was hard. They work really hard in Japan.
Yeah.
Not used to it over here in America, and it was the first time I had to work 7 days a week.
Oh.
Well, I guess they kind of took a day off, but
Yeah.
it still didn't matter when it was breeding season. If the fish were going to spawn or something, you were working.
Yeah,
And
and-
if they didn't want to spawn till 11 o'clock at night, well, you're on the hook till they go off, and then
Wow.
Yeah,
I hadn't
so-
thought about that. Tell us
Yeah.
more if you can.
yeah.
So let's say they start spawning at 11 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
What do workers have to do?
Well, at the particular place that I was at, Sakai Fish Farm, they're just outside of Hiroshima. They do breeding. Most of the big farms now do breeding where they allow the koi to naturally start spawning with each other, and then they'll take the female out, take the male out, and then they'll actually strip the eggs from the female and
Okay.
strip the sperm from the male and mix it together, and then spread it over they call it spawning ropes. It's kind of like a fake plant, basically, and they'll lay
Okay.
them on there. And as soon as those eggs hit the water, they get really sticky, so they'll stick right on there. And you've got a little short window of time to get those eggs fertilized. And so when they start naturally going at it, then you got to take them out, put them to sleep, and then do all that process of stripping them down and then putting the eggs in the system. So
So is there someone just sitting there watching them, or is it like a camera?
No, we sat there and watched them. I mean, you kind of do some things to get them in the mood.
Okay.
So you kind of know when it's sort of going to happen.
You got to play some Barry White.
Yeah, you put some candles out, and so you get them kind of in the mood, and then so it should happen tonight, but it may not. It
and
might
you
not.
like pack a lunch and everything? Like, is it like, okay, I'm on koi watching duty?
Yeah. You're sitting there like falling asleep on them,
and is it like the newest guy that's got to do it, or is it like the most seasoned guy going, no, all the money's made right here, so I got to watch? Or
both really. Like when I was there, and we were actually spawning koi. The guy who's now the president and owner of the company, he was there every night.
Okay,
every night. Yeah, like it's pretty important. Yeah. So they were there.
Yeah, because they can make or break your whole entire year.
Oh yeah. I mean, they spawn so many pairs of koi too to, just to cover up for that too. Sometimes the eggs don't take, right? They won't get fertilized right or something too, so they have to do spawning after spawning after spawning just to totally cover themselves. Yeah.
That's so. I hadn't really thought about the whole.
I thought about how actively you have to be kind of involved with the spawning process to maintain it as a business aspect.
I thought about growing them a lot, but not the actual physical.
Long time ago, like maybe 50 years ago or so, the breeders would only spawn them kind of naturally. Right?
Yeah.
So they would just put out a substrate for them to lay their eggs, and they'd let them go. And if they did, they did. If they didn't, they just found another pairing or something. Yeah. But now it's such a well-run farm. They have it's a business now. Like,
well, they definitely figure out the ins and outs, and you get a higher percentage yield from your actual spawning, which ultimately that's, if you have a business, that's what you want. You want 100%, which you'll never really hit that, but
it's quite high.
But if you're hitting 80, that's fantastic.
Really good. Especially when they're laying eggs, because they'll throw several 100,000 eggs at a time.
Off the top of my head, I was trying to think, like, how many from one spawn could they throw, and it could be almost 100,000.
It could be over. I mean, it really depends on the size of the female. And
Right.
Typically, they use big females, like over 80 centimeter for sure, which is like over 30 inches.
Right.
And
is it with koi? Is it exponential as they get bigger? The more babies that they can have.
The more eggs they can produce.
The more eggs they can produce. Yeah. Because
And,
I know that's been really. Obviously, this is a parallel, but it is a fish. But it's been the big thing in the Alaska fishery recently. It just popped into my head like, oh yeah, the halibut, you're not supposed to pull big females because the big females are the ones that really create the population. So it's almost the same thing with koi, that once you have a really big female, that's it's got to be quite a valuable.
Smaller farms will use smaller females. They just can't accommodate as many babies.
Right.
They've got really small farms. Big farms, they want to use the big ones.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. That's also something I didn't think about. Like, well, if I've got 100,000 babies, where am I going to put them?
Yeah. And if that's only one of the 10 different fish you're spawning that year,
Right.
or
That's
I'm sure
one
it's way more than
variety.
10. That's just one variety of.
Right. And and then different parent koi will have different attributes that they're trying to, get into the gene pool, right? Like a male koi might have crazy intense color or something, or the quality of its pattern is really good and they want to pass that along. But the female might be based off of body structure, or, her white is amazing or something, or she's huge, like she's got the genetics to get really big. So they'll kind of pair those together, and, some pairings stick and they'll use them for several years in a row. Some, the male's like a dud or something, right? So that year's no good, but they want to continue to try to breed that female, so they'll try again next season. So, and usually the breeding koi, the females are older. They're usually like 5-6 years old and older, and their first spawning is never very good. For some reason, the eggs just don't really take very
it's
well.
the entire
That's
first
pretty
year.
typical for
Is
almost
that-
every
Okay.
animal. Anyway,
So it's the first time through, it's not really that hot.
Is that the whole year, or just that very first spawn?
It's that very first spawn.
Okay.
Yeah, but typically they only get an opportunity to breed once a year.
Oh.
So they have to take all that time to regenerate all those eggs again, and it takes a whole season pretty much. So, quite a long time.
So you're almost like, if you have a prize male and a prize female, it is pretty much that one shot, and then next year is the next go around.
And your results you don't really know until, when they're fry, you can't tell I don't know what that is, right? You have to grow them up.
When we were at your place on the tour, it's like, well, we got some little guys, and who knows what they're going to do?
Yeah,
I don't know. And then even with some that were, say, in the 6-inch range, you were pointing out like, well, we'll see how they grow out. You know?
Yeah. Even at 6 inches or something, they may look really pretty right now, but then they start to see that once they start pushing it up to 12 or 14 inches, they start falling apart.
Right.
And the pattern just starts deteriorating or something.
Also, like could be diet, could be something. Something is
so
just,
many factors, right?
Yeah, because we were talking earlier about the fact that like if your koi grow too quickly, that can really lower the quality.
Yeah.
Maybe it's still a good fish for just being a fish. You're like, hey, but it would probably lower the show quality of that fish or whatever.
Could wash the color down a little bit, by growing them too quick. Yeah.
So
same kind of thing with like when we were talking about cherry shrimp earlier.
Yeah.
Like you can up the temperature and get their metabolism going really quickly and feed them a lot, and you can get them to breed really quickly. And then the reality is they start to throw wild babies that aren't bright red anymore. Now they're brown. And you're like, huh. Yeah.
So Barbara Jackson asked, does Zach buy koi from both Hiroshima and Nagata?
Yep. We do. We kind of bounce around Japan.
I like how both Corey and I kind of went Hiroshima and Nagata. Let me think. Zach's like, yes.
Both, and we kind of bounce around. I would say the bulk of our business, bulk of our time we spend in the Hiroshima area, like down south.
Okay.
Once or twice a year, I'll go to Niigata, which is where that's kind of the homeland of koi. That's where it was really originated as a business, and where breeders were actually reproducing regularly came from there. And there's tons and tons of breeders there, and they're small breeders mostly, but there's a bunch. I mean, there's probably, I don't even know now, easily a couple hundred different breeders.
And what constitutes a small breeder? Is that like me and Joel are going to breed some fish and we've got a backyard, or is that still
sort of?
That's still a huge facility.
Well, it's a facility, but it's not huge.
Like, is it bigger than your place, or is it like same size?
Yeah, maybe same size,
Okay.
maybe even smaller. Yeah.
Okay.
And different breeders up in Niigata kind of specialize in different things, right? They can't breed everything, so they might be a very good Kujaku breeder, or maybe they breed Ogons or something. Like they have real specific stuff that they're pretty good at. But most farms will do a couple, 2-3 different varieties, even small guys, just more stuff to offer for the market,
Right.
But everybody seems to have kind of their specialty. And most of our business is done down south, and I guess we kind of lucked out. Well, we didn't really luck out. I guess it was by design. But down south is where Sakai Fish Farm is and where Omosako Fish Farm is. And both of those farms sent their sons to Seattle to work with us and learn English and learn about American market and American business, and also teach us a lot too. So so now we have a pretty tight bond with Omosako Koi Farm. Takahiro Omosako.
Yeah, I got to meet him.
Yeah, he came to the shop. Yeah,
Yep.
He lived here for 5 years.
Oh wow.
A long time. And he's like he's our age.
Yeah.
And then Ken Sakai, who's now the president of Sakai Fish Farms, lived in Seattle and worked at Pan Intercorp for 3 years, I think it was.
Wow,
he left.
you would think that if they worked at your facility for 3 years, it's got to be a pretty good bond, because if you're just like one of any vendor in the world, be like, oh, I happen to work for them for 3 years.
There was a pretty tight connection there. And then Ken Sakai's cousin, Motoharu Sakai, also came and lived in Seattle and worked for maybe a year and a half or so before he went back home. So
And is it actually paid, or is like the farm just sponsor, and like Koi.com sponsored you to go work over there, or how's?
Yeah, I got paid when I was over there, not by them, but by Koi.com.
Okay, so
and same like the fathers or whatever, kind of pitching in, paying for the guy for their rent in an apartment or something, and giving them an allowance of some sort.
'Cause they're
to live
learning,
off of. And then they'd go to during the day for a few hours a day, maybe go to Omosako went to North Seattle Community College to learn ESL, like second language stuff, right? And same with Sakai, North Seattle.
Did you do that, or did you know Japanese before you went over there, or?
No. And my Japanese isn't that great. I can understand enough to not get lost, get what I need to get, go where I need to go.
Do you
negotiate? But
when you're at the farms, do you speak in English or do you speak in Japanese?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of both, but mostly English. Most of the farms now, the younger generation is taking over the farm, and they speak tons of English. So it's easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
It's less scary to go to Japan.
I'm just so fascinated about for lack of a better term, internship or the exchange program, because I never knew that it was that serious of like a thing. I just assumed like, yeah, you're just ordering koi from Japan or something. Not like, it's almost, I don't want the bad connotations to come. It's almost like mob mentality though. Is like you're like marrying the families. You're like, we're gonna work together for a long time because like Ken, for instance, worked for 3 years, but at that time, I'm sure. Well, I'm not sure, but you probably were working there too. So you're like,
that was the very beginning of me and at Pioneer Corp, and then the end of Ken. So he was already just about going home at that point. So we had a really short period of time there. For Omosako, it was different.
But I assume both of you were like, oh yeah, we're working for our companies.
Yep.
But now you're both like owners of the company. So it's kind of...
It's really cool to see like our age is kind of taking over in koi all over the world now. The older generation's stepping out a little bit, and all the younger guys are coming and running the business. And it's really cool to see that new, farm owners are younger guys, operators, I suppose. And then businesses, even in America, other koi businesses, it's a younger generation starting to take it on. So it's pretty cool.
So Joel says, just ask him for an internship, Corey. I can't say specifically that I have the opportunity to do an internship, but I have been invited to go over there and visit the farms and record. And so Zach has offered that invitation. I just haven't taken up on it yet because for you guys that are watching, that in November, typically I have to go to the Aquatic Experience Convention. And that's one of the, what's the time you go? Basically October to like December, you go to Japan a lot?
I think last year I went 7 times. So,
but it was from like October to like.
I think.
December,
well, what I was about to say is that because Aquatic Experience, and it's the wrong direction because to go to the East Coast. So they should probably just do an Aquatic Experience in Japan, and then we could go that way.
That's right.
That would be.
There's probably some really cool ADA stuff going on in Japan, right? So we don't, we're kind of going at all times of the year for different reasons, but harvesting the koi from their growing ponds for the season is, that's in the fall. So that could be as early as like the beginning of October, and it can run all the way into the beginning of December. So,
which is like the crazy convention time for me. But they did move it to October this year, so I might be able to attend like a November or something like that type of.
It's a nice, it's a nice time to go to Japan too. It's not too hot, and the trees are changing colors and everything. It's a good time to go. So summertime. I don't really go in the summer. Usually spring and fall, winter. Summertime, there's not much going on.
But it's also your busy time here in America.
Here. Yeah.
Right.
So short trips if I have to go at that time of the year. I get there and get back as fast as possible. So.
All right.
It's a super quick turnaround on a 15-hour flight.
From Seattle, it's 10. To Tokyo, it's 10. And when you come home, you got the jet stream pushing you, so it's pretty quick.
Oh,
it's
you
like
almost get like 8 hours.
Yeah, it's like 8.5 coming home from Tokyo.
Sounds so quick because you're counting on you're counting down the hours. Yeah, real quick.
It's 8.5. No big deal.
Well, it's the other way. Like when we go to the East Coast, and then you like come back and you're like, it's longer to get home. Like, we're driving against the wind.
Right.
You're like. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems really short to me now because I've gone so many times, but I remember the first few times I went to Japan, it seemed like this is taking forever to get there. Like it's not, but just you're used to it now. So
have any of your employees been like gone and worked at any of the farms or anything like that?
No, I've been the only one. One of our other guys had gone to Japan just to visit farms and stuff like that, but nobody's gone to work over there yet. They want to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can afford to send them over there.
Well, you just got the business. That's one of those. It's definitely it's an investing in the future thing.
Yeah.
You don't make any money off of it until like, it just so happens the guy I used to work with is the president of that company. Right. It pays off 15 years later.
Yep. And for a lot of the guys that work at our place, they have a family, so it's hard for them to break away from their family and their 2 or 3 kids and be gone for
I'll see you in 3 months.
A week they can probably do.
Yeah.
Go for just a tour, but working might be really hard. It's kind of a young guy's thing to do, really.
Yeah, it's true. And most
Yeah.
of the people aren't like 18 or anything.
No.
They're like, I want to say 28 and up or something.
Yeah, I think the youngest guy's 35.
Okay, yeah.
So nobody's real young anymore. Yeah. But at the time I was probably 22.
Yeah, you
maybe.
can break away to go to live in Japan
Yeah.
for a couple months at 22.
Yeah, no problem.
That's
can
like
do
going
that.
to school.
Yeah,
Right.
you're just.
Yeah.
I got to go do this internship in Japan for. a
Yeah,
bit.
you don't really have mortgages and that kind of stuff.
Little responsibility
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah. So
What did
Yeah.
your parents think
Just
of
about
that
the
whole
only thing you have to do is like drop off some stuff in somebody's garage.
Yeah.
While you're gone.
it was my parents were cool with it.
Because your dad was like, yeah, you should go work at the pet store. But
Yeah.
what were they still cool? And you're like, no, I'm going full bore. Like, did you finish college and all that, or were you just like, no, it's
No, I bailed.
koi all the time?
I did school for a while and then I just bailed.
That's
on it.
essentially what I did, yeah.
I was like, I'll do this koi thing.
Yeah.
I'll put everything into the koi thing and
And
I'll make it work
they
out.
were down with that.
Yeah, they were cool with it.
Wow.
Yeah, I just took my dad to Japan for the first time in December. So I think that was kind of a culture shock thing for him.
Yeah.
He's from Kansas, so he's not real like the whole sushi thing and all that
Yeah.
really didn't work out for him. But I think he had a good time. Yeah, it was an interesting trip, but I think he had a good time.
Yeah.
He's a few words, so it's hard to pry it out of him. Did you have a
Yeah.
good time? Yeah, it was okay. Kind of thing. I'm sure he had a blast.
It's
though.
hard not. I mean, no matter what, it's an experience, whether you enjoy it
yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
It was, to me, it was the first time I had traveled when I went to Japan, and I was in a quote unquote a different world. Like it's
Right.
very similar
Yeah.
climate wise and all that to
Yeah.
Seattle here. But like when I went to the UK, I was like, oh, it's pretty much like I'm still in America.
Yeah.
But when I was in Japan, I'm like, clearly I'm not in America.
This is a
like
different
this is
world.
way different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's useful whether you enjoy it or not, just to know like, oh, I've experienced something besides what I know.
Yeah, it's I'm used to it now. But whenever I take customers and stuff to Japan, every time we're done, they loved the trip. They
Yeah.
totally loved it, even though it's just koi all the time. they
Yeah,
still
yeah.
loved it. Yeah. So
How, if you can speak to this without saying any customers or anything like that,
Yeah.
so when people go with you to Japan to buy and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
what are they spending or something like that? Because I'm guessing they're not like, let me outlay a bunch of money and then not buy anything. Like,
Yeah.
And is there a requirement like, let's say you're going to bring Joel and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm bringing Joel, he's going to buy koi and we'd like to come see your farm.
Uh-huh.
Is there like an understanding like, well, you have to spend more than $7,
No,
or
no,
is
no.
it,
I cap out at.
yeah.
Okay, it's more than $8.
Yeah,
I'd have 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we don't really have a requirement. Some dealers in other countries, even I think some in America, they just charge people like $1,000 a piece to go.
Oh, okay.
And then if they buy something, they'll just apply that to their
Okay,
purchase,
that makes
right?
sense.
But if they don't and they just became a tour guide for a week, I
Yeah.
mean, at least they made something off of it,
Yep.
right? So we don't do that. I've never taken somebody to Japan, and I mean, our company really, I don't think ever has taken somebody there who hasn't bought something. I mean, you
Right.
go all the way there and you're
Right.
really into koi, and I mean, somebody's going to buy a fish, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of the story of going to Japan and going
I
to the
picked it
farms, and
out
I
and-
chose that, and the breeder helped me, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
we went out to lunch together, and you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's part of the story, and everybody buys something. I've never had somebody not buy a koi.
So I know
in
that
my
people, if they're thinking like I think, what's the most you've ever watched someone spend, maybe on your trip or even just in general on koi? Like if you're just like, I just watched that person buy half the farm, or you know.
I'd say the most would probably be at auction.
Okay.
You know, we go to auctions quite a lot and buy koi in Japan, and there's some like real players, big guys.
Yeah.
Then they'll have a couple $100,000 bill by the time they're done, maybe even more. I mean,
Right.
And that's their price. That's the
Right.
dealer's price. So they
Right,
still
that's
got to mark the
wholesale
koi
price,
up. Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, that's probably the most in a sitting.
Yeah.
You know, an individual koi. I don't know. Could be somewhere around.
Or here's an easier question. The easier question is, at what point do you go, you perk up and you go, wait, who bought that? You're
Yeah.
like, what price were you like, oh, they spent, is it like 100,000? Is it 20,000? Is it, at what point were you like, geez, someone's spending some money?
You know, it used to be 20,000 at the
Yeah.
auctions and stuff. Everybody'd be, whoa, you know, clapping
Yeah,
up
yeah.
for that guy. And now it's like, you got to spend about don't know, like $80,000 before people start going,
80,000 gets
who's
the
that
clap.
guy? Yeah,
Okay.
they get the turn and the look, But yeah, when they set some world records for koi at auction, that's usually a big deal. And
Is in price?
It's in price.
Okay.
Yeah. So like last spring I was at an auction at Sakai's farm where a tozai, which is a koi in its first years, so really young, sold.
Yeah.
And it set the world record for a tozai at auction, which I think it was over $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Because I remember being at one of your
Yeah.
auctions, and I don't know if it was a tosai, but it was a fish that was only like this big, and I remember it was like $1,800, and I was like, dang.
Yeah. That's a lot for me,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
I'm not buying a $100,000 koi, I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's crazy. So,
It's
all right,
just a
let's
different world.
let's roll into the actual event, because I know you got pictures and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So we'll get Jimmy pulling some of that stuff up. You kind of explain what we're seeing in some of these pictures, and we'll get to people's super chats about koi ponds and that type of stuff in the second half. Want to make sure.
So tell them about the live and the...
Yeah. So on this side will be what Jimmy's got queued up next.
Okay.
So right now they still see us.
Yep.
And then when it goes to the right hand side, that's what everyone gets to see.
Okay.
So
Cool.
what are we seeing here roughly?
Well, the All Japan show is the biggest koi show in the world, right? And so every year this show takes place about the same time. It's either like really late January or early February every year, and it
Okay.
takes place in Tokyo. And it's a really good time for the breeders and the farms and the dealers and everything to come together because it's kind of slow for everybody. And the temperature's colder, so the koi actually look better when the temperature's colder.
Oh.
It's the best time of the year to show fish, so that's why it takes place at that time of the year. It's almost always in Tokyo. There's been a couple times where they've moved it out for special occasions, but I think almost
Looks
every
like it's
show.
indoors.
It is indoors. It's in a place called the Ryutsu Center, which is just out. It's really near Haneda Airport. And it's kind of a big convention center type of thing. And it's really hard to get a scope for how big it is because it's indoors and they've got all these walls just holding up the structure, right? So you can't see from end to end.
Right.
Yeah, but there's just hundreds and hundreds of show tanks, which you'll see in some pictures in a minute. But this is the first day where they're benching koi. And benching is the time that they bring the koi in and put them into their proper show tanks based on their size or the farm that they came from.
That fish looks like it's 3 feet. Right
That's a
there.
big one. That's a two-man koi. Yeah. So
That's a two-man boy.
it's like
Judge
like a
them by how
three-man
many
rock.
people gotta
Yeah.
carry 'em?
It's
Yeah.
a two-man koi. The show is done what they call English style, and it's for health reasons. This koi show used to have way more koi in the show. Well, there's a four-man koi.
That's a 4-man. Yeah, that thing's no joke.
They used to have what was considered Japanese style koi show, which would mean that, the last time I judged in 03 was Japanese style, which means that all of the koi that were, say, that size were like together.
Oh wow.
So they might mix fish from one farm and another farm and another farm all in one tank. It made it really easy for judges because you kind of look at all the sanke that were, whatever that is, 95 centimeter or something. You'd look at them in one spot. It was super easy to judge, but you're cross-contaminating from one farm to another farm, right? So when they had some big outbreaks of different things,
like the koi AIDS or whatever.
yeah. Then they had to change the show style.
Did you say koi AIDS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, at
It's
least
kind of like that.
I mean, that's
Let me
what
answer that.
it's. Some of the circles, like at the class I attended, they called it. They essentially
Yeah.
like, you know.
Yeah. There was
Does it have a slightly more medical term than that?
koi herpes virus, they call it, KHV. Yeah.
KHV. Okay.
Yeah. So one year there was a KHV outbreak in Japan that was pretty bad. They actually had to cancel the All Japan show.
Wow.
So it happened one time, right? Like in 49 years, they did have to cancel it once due to that. They didn't want to be spreading around anything. So, and then they adopted this English style show where koi are separated by the farm that they came from. So if Omosako is bringing fish to the show, he'll have individual tanks with his koi in them, and they'll be of mixed size too at that point.
Okay.
That's pretty smart to do. I mean, and I know that often shrimp shows are done the same way. Everyone just sets up a nano tank that's got a pair or 6 shrimp of one variety or whatever, and they're
Right.
all just lined out.
Yeah, and it makes it a little harder to judge. I mean, but now they use tablets and all kinds of stuff to tell you where to go next, and they're over here, and it's this tank, so it's really organized.
Do you guys
now.
do anything where you possibly like take photos and then you can kind of reference back and forth?
Yeah, you're actually given a book, which I didn't bring with me.
Oh,
I
so
didn't.
they-
I didn't leave.
Oh,
I
so
didn't
they
steal it
actually
from
have, like,
Japan.
they
But
have an analog. It's an analog.
Yeah.
They call it analog versus digital.
Exactly.
So it's an analog book
Yep.
you can actually look through.
yep,
on
and
the
you can make your notes. You
same
know,
kind of
yeah, you
exposure.
can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
jot down your notes on
Sure.
stuff, right? Like, then
Do you have a secret code that you write down when you write it
I
down
do.
so no one can...
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't want people saying, "Oh, this one's really good," or this, and looking over my shoulder or something,
Right.
right? So I got little notes, little
Nice.
Little shorthand note.
secrets,
action
yeah.
secrets.
Chicken scratches.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this show, like, it used to
Do
be
you have
huge.
if you do have a secret code, you have to change it up every year just in case somebody deciphers.
Yeah, somebody figured it out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
This year was chili dog.
yeah. That's number one.
That's right.
Yeah. So the show, like, this year, had, I think, a little over 1,500 koi in the show.
Wow.
So it's a lot, right?
Yes.
But back in the day, it used to be like 5,000.
Oh, so it's dwindling, or at least
That's another
because
form.
they can't do that mixing anymore, right? So
Oh.
now
So that's a Matsui 4-man koi, right?
it probably is. Those two guys are from Matsue Koi Farm. They're the guy that you see his back, and then the guy with
Yeah.
the stripes on his jacket there.
Okay.
He's the breeder.
Jumbo.
The guy on the right, holding the front of that bag.
Jumbo Kohaku.
So that's probably from his farm, and they're entering that into
I wish
the
I
show.
knew. I wish I knew the names of the type of koi.
Yeah,
I wish I knew.
takes
them.
a while, but
That one's
not bad.
Kohaku, right?
Kohaku, yeah.
All right,
And
I know a little bit, just enough to spend money.
just enough to go like, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see, I mean, it's really hard to get the scope of the whole show, but there's
Yeah.
all these tanks. And then in between the tanks, there's these little plastic walls. They're to keep any splashing
Yeah,
from
it's like
tank
the
to tank, right?
biosecurity,
Going
yeah.
crosswise, yeah.
And so they take it really
You don't want
seriously.
that cross contamination.
Nope.
Nope.
Don't want to have that. It's taken real seriously. So
That's awesome.
Are there any farms where it's like, don't put that guy's stuff near to mine. His farm's all screwed up. Like not exact farms, but is there that kind of rivalry of like, don't put, it'll look bad sitting next to his koi.
no,
I would
well,
almost-
I don't know.
I'd almost
actually.
guess that those people, they probably aren't making it to the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best show in the world. So even the
Oh,
fish that
got-
don't make the
Even
cut,
the worst is the best
they're
one
like,
I've ever seen.
man,
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you're getting any kind of an award, be it a major prize or some of the like runner up or honorable mention,
Yeah.
like that's kind of a big deal even to get those, right?
Yeah.
So even phenomenal fish might not get that kind of an honorable mention award or something. So it's quite an honor if you get anything
Right.
at the show. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's crazy.
So there's like I don't even know how many tanks now, but they're individualized. So like you see a little tank card hanging off the front of that one there.
Yeah.
It's got 3 photos on it. That tank had 3 koi in it. So, and those were probably bigger koi. So when they're quite big, they don't put as many in there. Smaller koi, they'll have quite a bit more.
Looks
in
like you in the back, right?
there. Yeah, that is me. In the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wearing a
How many
snazzy suit.
How many judges total were there?
This year, 80.
80 judges.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's probably them.
Yeah, there we go. Those are the teams of judges. You're put into teams, and it's totally luck of the draw. Like you walk in the building, and before the judges meeting, you basically pull a number out of the box, and whatever number that is, you're
And then
on that team.
And then they give you a jacket with the number on it.
Yeah, you're given a jacket with a number
Do you
on
get to
it.
keep
I
that
like it.
jacket?
No.
Oh, you didn't get to keep
man,
it.
that's like an exclusive club jacket.
Yeah, those are. So your team. I mean, some teams have 5 people. Some teams have as many as I think 9 this year on
Okay.
a team. And the bigger teams judged sometime. Well, like our team, we were a bigger team of 9 people. We judged 2 different sizes of koi in the show.
How I know I've heard, but how do they choose who gets to judge, and like how'd you end up there?
So this show is put on by an organization in Japan called the Shinkokai, and it's been around for a long time. It's an organization of breeders and dealers, like koi professionals, basically, kind of at the top of their game, right?
Okay.
And so there's districts around the world. The U.S. district, I think, has 14 members right now,
Okay.
of which we're a member, and every year Japan sends an invitation to a couple of guys in America to ask them to come and judge the show. And there's other foreign dealers from Europe and South Africa and other parts of Asia and all kinds of different places. So almost every team has a foreign judge on the team too.
Oh, okay.
But it's primarily Japanese breeders and dealers on each team. But there was 80 this year. I think there was 12 different teams of judges, and some teams will only judge one size of koi because there's so many of them in that one size. Like our team did 2 sizes. We did a bigger size, which they call 85 bu, which is like bu is kind of a category for 80 to 85 centimeter koi. And then I also did 25 bu, which is 20 to 25 centimeter koi.
And what's
the grand champion size?
Usually out of one of the top sizes, like over 90 centimeter.
Okay.
So
but 80, 85 is pretty close to
it's up there. Yeah, it's pretty big, but the top sizes, typically the grand champion will come out of that. And there has not been a grand champion of the All Japan show that has not been a Kohaku, Sankei, or Showa.
Right, and those are the traditional 3 for those
are the
that
big
don't
3.
know. Like
Yeah.
they're the kind of some of the, well, we can queue up some pictures.
Yeah, that one there's Sankei. I think that was a male, and it was huge, a really big male. Almost looks like it has a female body, right? Like they're getting that way. But that fish was in the size that we judged.
Okay.
And it had the sumi, the black on the shoulder there was like crazy.
Yeah,
rich.
it looks like paint.
Was,
you don't even see the scales.
you couldn't. It was so rich and deep. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So. Quite amazing to get a male koi up to 85 centimeters. That's huge.
Oh, okay.
Like that's over 30 inches. And then to have it have a body like that was pretty impressive too. And the quality was still good. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Someone from the chat asked, Sal Sanchez said, "What's the biggest koi you've ever seen?" Like maybe not best quality, but just straight up biggest.
Probably, I would say it's probably got to be
100 feet.
it's got to be like
That's a whale.
4, probably a little over 4 feet.
Dang.
Yeah,
That's
like,
pretty big.
Yeah, big.
That
I
might
mean,
as
it
well be
was
100
long.
foot.
I don't think
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was real like girthy, but it was
Yeah.
long. At this show, and I think there's a picture actually in one of them of Showa that was she was a meter and 8 centimeters. So what is that? 108 cm, I think.
Yeah.
So and she was huge and good still, like looked really good. It's hard to get really big koi to
Yeah.
look really good. So now that's it there.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
well. That you could tell that thing. I could ride that one.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from pictures sometimes. Even small koi look really big, but I mean 108 centimeters is pretty ridiculous.
That's a big
So,
fish.
Yeah.
And so people are kind of asking, like, let's say that koi, what is something like that worth? Is that like, oh yeah, that's worth $500, or is that like, priceless because no one would sell it, or?
But probably what happened with that koi was it was purchased at a young age, and then it was kept in Japan and grown for several years
Okay.
to get as big as it did. And then it kind of lucked out a little bit, and also that plays a role in it. But that fish was from a farm called Momotaro Koi Farm, and they're known for growing real big koi. So and their showa are quite exceptional. So
And do you bring stuff like that into koi.com?
from the breeder, yes,
Yeah.
not fish that big.
Yeah,
though,
but you bring the smaller ones that people could purchase.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we bring in koi from, Momotaro and Sakai and Omosako and many different breeders in Niigata, so all over the place. Yep. But we mostly spend, I would say out of the 7 trips I made last year, I think 6 of them were to Hiroshima area. So that's
I just
probably
need like 7 of the ugliest Momotaros you've ever seen. That's all I need.
get them to
Just
4 foot.
Just
yeah.
the little
Yeah.
ones.
They got the bloodline, right? They got
Yeah.
the genes.
And
You
I
can get
just,
them that big.
I can just be like, there you go.
Momotaro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll be like, why do they look so bad? And I'm like, well, I've been feeding them cat food. I don't
And
know.
so these pictures we're seeing
Oh,
here
that's
are
the,
these.
that's the grand champion.
That's the grand champion.
Uh-huh.
That is a
The
beautiful
Kohaku.
fish.
And that was a fish from Sakai, Sakai Fish Farm. And that fish won the All Japan Young Koi Show several years ago. And so it's cool
wow.
to see it actually
Move
then move up.
up.
Yeah,
and
because
keep
normally when a fish wins a big koi show, like you never see them again.
An
right?
otter,
Right.
an otter
Yeah.
eats it.
Yeah, an otter eats it, yeah.
yeah.
Well, it just kind of
Otters break in
It's, it's at the top of its game when it won some other like young
Yeah.
koi show or something,
Right.
and that's as good as it's ever going to get. But to see that one go from there and then end up being the grand champion.
So is that like even more of a
That's
oh
crazy.
man, this one at this age and this age? That
That's
thing's
crazy.
insane.
That'd be like seeing Michael Phelps,
yeah.
when he was like 14, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, he won state. That's
Yeah.
cool. And then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see him 10 years later, and you're
And
like,
he's winning the
oh, he
Olympics.
has
Yeah.
all of the gold medals. Okay,
Yeah.
that's weird. How did that happen?
That's cool though. Yeah. Yeah. These a bunch of pictures are just kind of different award winners.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
all these have won awards. At
Yeah,
that-
these
at
ones
that
won
show?
kind of major awards.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you know they got the signature down in the corner. That's how
right.
you know.
Oh, that's the guy that
I
photographed
know.
him.
I'm making a joke. That that's
You
how
should
know.
follow that guy.
That's
He's
how
got
you
a
know
re-
they're really good.
He's a really good photographer.
So what's this mature champion?
Mature champion.
Mature
yeah.
champion.
So they have a bunch of major awards, and then they have a bunch of special prizes.
Wow.
That was kind of the runner-up.
Jumbo.
Yeah, I
That's
guess.
extra grande.
Yeah, that was kind of number two. So at the very end, like the judging process, every judge judges for grand champion,
Oh.
and that's the first thing we do. So all those teams of judges go through and look at the contenders, and then each team submits each individual person's
Oh.
vote, right? And
Now, how quickly,
so it's a process.
How
It takes a
quickly
while.
is that fish moving around?
real slow.
Yeah.
really slow. Just
That's always
kind of
like
cruising.
that's almost always my favorite aspect of koi, because I mean, whether it's a sanke or whatever,
Yeah, they're
like
just-
I can never tell you the type.
Yeah.
I'm just terrible at it. I really am. I know how to take care of them.
Yeah.
But I'm just like identifying them. I'm like, that one's orange
Yeah.
with white. It's
pretty.
And it's pretty. And I like it. But my thing is just how fluid of a movement that
Yeah.
they always make. They're always just like,
Especially when they're big.
hey man, how you doing?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, the bigger sizes like that are usually the contenders. So all those teams of judges will go by and look at the bigger size koi, and then it gets narrowed down to a handful,
Right.
like 4 or 5. I think this year it was narrowed down to 4, and then out of those 4, the judges made they put their vote in the box basically, and then they kind of hand count all the ballots. And a fish has to win the majority, right, for it to become grand champion.
Yeah.
So if usually the first time through nobody has the majority, so
Uh-huh.
then they'll like eliminate a fish from the running, basically the one that was the lowest on the
Right.
chain, which actually was that really big showa.
Huh.
That one kind of got the boot, and then it moved to 3 other koi. So that showa was from a farm called Momotaro Koi Farm, right? And then the other 3 that were in contention were all from Sakai Fish Farm. So
When you're judging, do you know that, or
Yeah, you
because
know
you
it.
know the
Yeah.
patterns, or it's labeled like that?
no, they don't label them. They don't tell you who the owner is or who the breeder is. But I mean, if
Uh-huh.
you're kind of in the business, you just know
Right,
all
you
that
can just
stuff
spot
anyway.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had it in the bag, right? Any one of his 3 fish was going to win the All Japan
Yeah.
show at that point, and then it got narrowed down to 2, and then down to 1. So there was actually 3 rounds of
Huh.
judging that had to take
And how
place.
long does that process take? Is that like all day long?
No,
or
it
is
was about
like-
an hour, probably.
okay.
Yeah, they had to recount all the ballots every time,
Pretty
and
funny. It's like 4 minutes. We did it on our phone. There's an app.
It was rapid fire.
Yeah, just hit buttons on. I don't know what's happening.
that's the gentleman who owns the Grand Champion Koi.
there you go.
He's
Is that? Oh, that's the gentleman. So it's not necessarily Ken from
That's
like the farm. or
quite the
anything.
trophy.
It is, yeah.
That's either quite the trophy.
That's bigger than the
or
one
he's
we got.
extremely short.
You guys saw the one that's at our place,
Yeah.
right? That was for
Those are
winning
big.
this show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I put a picture.
So
of
wait,
that.
we got
I put a
to
picture
we got
of
to
that
hold one of the
online.
trophies that was at one of these shows.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was.
That's what I was
that.
saying. That's what I was saying. I was making a joke that he's tiny, but no,
Yeah,
those,
yeah.
those trophies are gigantic because we were holding them and we were like,
And
this
that,
thing's huge.
And that one's even bigger now. Like they kept getting bigger.
They just keep
Yeah.
getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah,
Eventually,
it
you're gonna
seems
need-
like it.
I want
yeah.
him to come in
You're
on a
gonna
flat
get
truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was the owner. He's from China.
Okay.
And that was there he is again. The gentleman on the far left of the picture is a dealer in Japan, and then the breeder is next to him. That's Ken Sakai there.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the owner, and then on the far right is also a dealer, part of the process between Japan and China. The guy on the far left's a Japanese koi dealer.
That's like a pretty political deal between, going back and forth from
Yeah.
China to Japan, right?
Oh yeah.
So that
Yeah,
Gotta have some
China's pretty
diplomacy.
hot on koi right now. I
Yeah.
mean, they're kind of the top of the heap.
Huh.
But countries like Thailand and Vietnam, they're really growing.
stepping up.
Yeah,
that's
big
awesome.
time. So,
I love that plastic koi.
Yeah,
The more fish breeding and fish keeping and all that stuff, I'm like, yes,
all
go
good.
for it.
Yeah.
Everybody get in. Let's
That
go.
koi's super cool. They issue that out every year when the guy wins grand champion, and then they paint that on the spot. So the pattern on there matches the koi that just won.
on the fish?
Yeah, so there's a guy there that hand paints them every year. It's really
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna hang out with the
That's
painter
pretty
guy.
insane.
Yeah, and they dish out a few of them. Like they do the big one, and then they'll issue a smaller one for the dealer or something to keep.
Right, just
so
yeah.
yeah. But
That's a rad trophy system when you get a custom painted like
it's pretty cool.
look-alike.
Yeah, but it's I know it's an expensive organization to be a part of. It's a the entry fees to the show and all that are quite high, expensive too. So that's how they got to pay for all that stuff.
Just the cost of operating this whole event is probably quite a bit.
It's a lot of volunteer work, but it does take a lot of money to pull it off, right? So,
just with all the tanks and all the displays and just all the infrastructure, the judges, everything that's going on is quite extensive.
yeah.
I definitely like I'm glad you included this picture. I feel like you included this picture for me because I really like the design of the whole.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Of the whole thing.
They pop this thing up in a day, right? Like all this
it
stuff
just wasn't
goes up.
there, and then
yeah, it's
there
crazy. In that convention center, all of the lights are all. You see them in that picture. They're all fluorescent lights up top. They take all the bulbs out.
Wow.
And then they change them with bulbs that are going to make the koi look better, right? So
Wow.
different spectrum stuff.
Right.
So there's guys on ladders for an entire day just changing out bulbs. So it's quite a process, and these people are all around champion
I used
koi.
to do the giant wedding shows, and I was always blown away by it because
Yeah.
I'd show up and I'd do my part of the display work that
Yeah.
I was doing,
Yeah.
and then I'd come back the next day, and it's like this whole place
Totally
was
different.
completely empty, and now there's 900 people in here displaying stuff. Yeah,
That's the breeder again there, Ken.
awesome.
Yeah.
Lots of cameras around.
Look at these
Looks
cameras.
tired.
Does anybody
Yeah.
notice all these cameras around?
Yeah, there's a lot of cameras.
Look at that guy's glasses.
They do a lot of
that Tamron?
filming
Yeah.
and here's the
Nice.
owner being tossed in the air. That's kind of a tradition.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Grand champion.
Don't drop him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Don't drop the champ.
Don't drop that
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. So
That's crazy.
yeah, entry into the show, little koi, which are like
Very rarely do I say that I was jealous that you went to this, but now that I look through all the pictures, I'm like kind of jealous I didn't
pretty
go.
fun. Yeah, the little koi in the show are usually about 4 inches. That's about the entry point.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then they go up to as big as they can get. And to enter a little koi in the show probably costs you about $150 or so. And those big guys could be,
Yeah.
$1,500 each.
Wow.
To enter them, or roughly.
Just to enter.
Just entry, yeah. So it's how they pay for the show.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
big to do.
it is a big to do.
So,
Yeah,
was that the end of the pictures, Jimmy?
Yes.
All right.
yeah.
So now I know we've got some questions. Let me see if I can scroll up here and address some super chats, maybe.
Barbara Jackson was saying the pond needs to be at least 4 feet deep with straight sides. Less than that, or with a sloped edge, you will need to net it. Except river otters, nothing works with those.
No, I have experience with that recently.
I did mention that today. I put out a video and I
Oh.
was saying the biggest pest around here,
Yeah.
because the ongoing joke is that Corey's got the heron.
Yeah.
He's got the blue heron.
Moriarty.
Oh, yeah.
Moriarty is
Oh,
his
he's got a
name.
name now.
Yeah.
He's a
I've
regular.
I've got the raccoons.
Yeah.
And you've got the
otters.
river otters.
Yeah.
So it's
I'd
like
like to
I
trade
think we're-
with somebody.
we pretty much have the
I could
trifecta
put up with the raccoons.
of madness.
The river otters are, smart and unbeatable.
Resilient.
Yeah, they.
Yeah.
So I know there's at least one super chat for me, but I want to get some in with the koi. Vexing Cat says, "What is the smallest size pond for koi, and what's a good depth?"
Pond, any size works. I mean, a big thing in Japan now is aquarium keeping of koi.
Really?
There's no space, right? So everybody most people live in cities, and so you have a really limited property, and they build on every spot of the property they
Yeah.
can, parking or whatever. So it's become a big deal to keep koi in aquariums in Japan.
Huh.
So it's really quite popular with a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
A lot of people who have taken over their parents' house or something, they kind of turn the pond into a parking spot or something
Oh.
because it's kind of a pain. Like it's a lot of work,
Right.
and maybe they're just not into it as much as their dad was or something. But they do have aquariums a lot. So, I would say at least like a 30-gallon tank could be fine and bigger. The koi just don't grow big. That's all. So it kind of keeps them small, but they're totally.
Which is crazy because here in America, that's like, you gave that koi a death sentence, and then here it is like at the pinnacle of the hobby, and they're like, no, turns out we're just going to keep them in tanks because that's what makes sense, and
right.
Yeah, aquariums work, ponds, the only issues with like small ponds tend to be if you live in cold places, like the temperature of the pond could get really cold if it's a small volume of water, right? So that would be a little bit of a concern with a small pond, but they would totally be happy in just a few 100-gallon pond even. So even like a small water garden type of thing.
Have the dealers noticed the trend of koi being kept like in aquariums and stuff like that?
Not so much here.
But like in Japan, maybe not the dealers, but the breeders, do they know that like, hey, it's catching on, that people want to keep them in aquariums, or is it still just like, we only want to make the biggest fish possible? Because what I'm thinking of is like, what if there's a market developing for like, and right now they might breed for, we want this one to get 4 feet. Maybe they go like, oh, we want this one to max out at 12 inches.
Yeah.
I
think they're aware of it. I mean, even at the show just outside of the entryway, they had aquarium displays with koi in them and stuff for the public to see. So they're pretty aware of it. I don't think they're really breeding specifically for size. But they have to have fish at all different levels of the market. I mean, they have to have little guys and they have to have big guys, and so most of what we buy really is about 12 or 14 inches and smaller. Like thousands of those.
And so in that culture currently, do they see that, or do they express that? Like here, I think when people see koi in a 55-gallon tank, they go, how dare you, why isn't that in a giant pond, that type of thing? Or over there, is it more just like, oh no, you can, that's fine,
it's fine over there? I mean, over here, some people, you go to a restaurant or something and somebody's got koi in an aquarium and everybody's just, oh geez, well, you're doing bad with that koi. But they're fine in an aquarium. They do great. They actually, it's nice and stable and they're really happy, and they're cool. It's a totally different way of choosing koi too, because they're kind of bred to look from the top down, right?
Right.
So they're a pond fish. They're typically always viewed from the top down. And when you start getting them for an aquarium, you start looking at patterns differently. You'll start looking at koi that might have a deeper pattern, more of a wrap, And so what might have been really good for a pond koi, it kind of changes. Like, well, that's not so good for an aquarium though, and something that might not have been so good in a pond, now in an aquarium looks pretty cool.
I wonder if
the side viewing is actually.
I wonder over time if there might be a class that's like, aquarium viewed. Because fancy goldfish, they have the top down and they have the side view.
That's the one. That's the class I'd probably like to get in on.
Yeah, that'd be
I could probably get in on that one.
Nobody's doing it.
No one's doing it yet.
Not that I'm aware of.
We got to start.
That's interesting.
Oh man, why did we do it on the show? Now everyone knows.
Everybody's gonna know.
We had a leg up for a minute.
Yeah.
So Paul asks, Corey's video on how to pick koi, which you were in that video, got him into the hobby. Now he's got a 5,500-gallon pond in his backyard. Any recommended meds or additives for koi coming out of winter in Minnesota?
Ooh, it's cold there.
Yeah.
For us, when we used to have hobbyists come into our shop and say, hey, what do I do in the spring and what do I do in the fall? We didn't really have a routine. We kind of said, well, if the fish are acting a specific way, we'll treat according to that, with different medications and things. But it seems like it's almost inevitable that coming into the spring, with the temperatures in the ponds kind of going up and down a lot, fluctuating, and stressing the fish out, that they're pretty prone to just getting some kind of a parasite. So there's a lot of just general, parasite medications you can use. One that locally people here used a lot was called trichlorophon. I don't know if that's still out there or not. It was made by a company called Argent. I think it's just trichloricide is what it is the main ingredient. But they use that in the spring all the time, and it was just kind of a general, like, knock them out if they have any bugs, and if they don't, then they're okay too. A lot of people put salt in the water early in the season, and that helps too. If it hasn't been a really harsh winter though, it might not really need anything.
So if you own, you do own koi, but let's say you owned that pond, are you yourself, would you preemptively treat, or would you wait to see what they do?
I would probably wait, but I'll have a microscope and I'll catch a fish and scrape its slime coat and look in the scope and see
Right.
what's there and then treat accordingly.
Oh yeah, that's next
Yeah.
level move right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that just treat prophylactically every
Yeah.
year, and it works really well for them. And some people will tell you, "Oh, don't do that. That's the worst thing in the world." But certain things work for certain people, and
Right.
certain things don't work for other people. Just if it's working for you, just keep
There
going
isn't
with
there
it.
isn't a one all
No.
kind of
No, and
kind of general cure
people
thing.
want to know what's
like
the right
the-
size pond.
Right.
That 5,500 gallon pond, in my opinion, perfect size.
perfect size.
Yeah,
there
you
go.
can get. It's easy to maintain.
What size is 5,500 gallons? So that's was that
It's probably
10 foot by 8
I feel like
foot?
it's like 12 by 12 by 6. deep or
probably
something.
ish. Yeah, 15 by 15 by 4 or
Yeah.
something. It's pretty good size, and it's manageable. It's not way too big
Not
that
way
it
too
becomes
big,
a pain in the rear to take care of it, and it's not so small that the koi only get this big. Right?
So you did mention that coming out of winter with the temperature fluctuations, that would be something that most people would want to pay attention to more than, say, other variables that are going on. You would want to really just kind of monitor the temperature swings. So
Yeah.
Which-
I mean, in some cases,
I
there's not
did-
much you can do.
I
but-
did mention to Corey, I texted you about it the other day. We saw a pond monitor
Oh, yeah.
that actually is Wi-Fi enabled, and then it will tell you, I think all that it does is pH, ammonia, and temperature, which honestly
Yeah.
are the three things
pretty
that you
good.
really want to know.
Yeah.
So that might be a viable tool for somebody like that. It was
Sure.
only like $200, so it wasn't really like so far out of the price range that
Yeah.
where you're like, it's $10,000 to know the temperature.
Untouchable, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that might be something.
Well, for a guy who's got a pond, yeah, that's $200 is not that
a
much,
big-
right? Yeah.
it's
So
not-
yeah.
to monitor like that.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
I think the cool thing is that it would monitor via Wi-Fi and then send it to your computer.
Yeah.
And then you could actually have a whole spreadsheet over the whole month.
Oh,
Would tell
cool.
you what was going on,
Yeah, yeah.
if things were happening and stuff. So
Yeah.
that might give you an idea, like kind of going into it, knowing that like, oh, my water's this low, and then through the spring it's like, whoa, it got hot, and then it got cold, then it got hot. That'd probably be a good idea to then you could start checking, maybe treating for parasites or
Right.
something or whatever.
Yeah. And coming into spring, the bacteria and stuff that keeps your pond in check, it's ramping itself back up too. So there's some water quality issues that can happen in the spring for people too. So yeah, good to keep track of it early.
If you were to give somebody a recommendation for maintaining like your bacterial content, like within your trickle tower or however you're doing it, would you recommend to try to keep that in a heated area, or at least just a consistent temperature area so that it doesn't drop down significantly? Because I know what I've seen over the years is that a lot of people would have them above ground,
Yeah.
just off the way.
Yep.
And I know that sometimes I have seen them where I walked up to them and it's like the water's still running, but now everything is like
Yeah.
pretty darn frozen,
Cold.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I know bacteria is not doing well there.
Well, the thing with the koi too is, I mean, they're completely like, their metabolism's totally based on the temp of the pond, right? So if it's really cold, they're not really producing a heck of a lot that the bacteria has to be there to handle. So when they start ramping up a little bit, start to eat, start to move around more, they're producing a little more waste, then that bacteria will kind of kick back in. So it's not super critical to try and carry it through the winter or something. I think there's traces of it in there all the time, but then when it starts to ramp up, it just starts reproducing pretty rapidly. But heavily stocked ponds and stuff, you might have to test the water a little bit early in the season and then react to that by changing water or doing whatever, right? So
Someone asked, what's
Speaking
your
of changing
favorite?
water.
Water change system just kicked right on for some of the tanks. What's your favorite type of koi?
my favorite koi is the sanke. It's a red,
gonna
black,
put
and white.
I'm going to put a star right next to this here.
Yeah,
Go.
sanke.
So don't try to buy those
It's
from
kind of
Zach.
right in
Got
the
it.
middle of that picture there. Yeah.
Yeah, or
Those
buy
are my
those ones
favorite.
'cause you get a
They're
lot
my
of choice.
favorite because I think that they're the hardest to pull off.
Okay.
There's kohaku is the red and white ones. You see those quite commonly, and kind of when you buy those, what you see is what you get. They don't really change much. Showa is another one that's really popular.
Right. The Showa is the only one I know.
Yeah, Showas are,
The
you
only,
know,
that's the only one I know off the top of my head.
those names are developed by when the period of time in Japan that koi was perfected.
Okay.
So there was an era in Japan, the Showa era. That was he was the emperor of Japan at the time, and there was one that was perfected in the Taisho period. That's
Okay.
So that's kind of how they name a lot of this stuff.
Okay,
which
so
is
that's
pretty cool.
as moving through the years.
Yeah.
That's how they come up with it. Okay.
And so Sankei, we say it that way. It's kind of short for the full name of it would be Taisho Sankei.
Okay.
But everybody drops the Taisho part usually and just says Sankei.
Right, because they just.
The Sankei are, I think, my favorite because they're the hardest to put all the pieces together. With a Showa, even if it's got some deficiencies, like the black on them changes so much all the time that it could kind of cover up some things that might not be perfect at a really young age.
Okay.
But with Sankei, it's just there's that red has to be right. The sumi, the black, has to be in all the right places, and when it all comes together, it's really, really impressive.
I have to admit, out of this list, I pretty much like all of them.
Most people, when they're new to the hobby, they're really drawn to the wild stuff, like the really weird, the scaleless types,
Right.
Yeah,
the metallic
I
stuff.
only like Doitsu.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's when everybody's new, that's kind of what they love. And then as they kind of get into it longer and longer, they seem to kind of migrate towards those big three, the Kohaku and Sankei and Showa. And
Yeah,
now,
I have to say the Kohakus, I've seen some of those in person. I've actually seen some of those, and well, barring at your place, if there happen to be some there, and I'm like missing them, I've seen some in person. And I just kind of went, "Whoa,
yeah.
that's wild." Yeah, it's sort of like the first time I saw like crystal shrimps, like in person, like really high quality crystal shrimp, and I was like, "Oh, that's what they're talking about." You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how many years ago it was, but the first time I saw like a flower crystal shrimp, where I was like, "Oh, that's what they mean." Okay, the same thing with that fish was like, "Oh, okay, I've only ever seen pictures of that." When I saw it in person, I was like,
Wow.
"That's amazing."
Yeah. Yeah. And the black and white one, the Shiro Utsuri, that's kind of creeping into the upper end there with those big three.
Yeah,
now. It's kind of
the
knocking
number
on the
4.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I love the Shiros a lot.
they're fun.
If you guys watch my
Yeah.
videos, you've seen how I just gush over every Shiro that like came in the shipment. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh,
They're
this thing's
fun
the
because
best.
they
Yeah.
change, So
Yeah.
it's cool to watch them develop over the years and the black coming up stronger and stronger. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few of them in my pond right now. Every year I seem to come raid your place on like, oh, that one's not, I can afford that one? All right, I need that one.
Sweet.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'll end
Yeah.
up with a pond that's nothing but black and white cowfish.
We were supposed to do a follow-up video from that selecting thing.
Yep.
Is that the video where that happened? Selecting the koi? I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody knows what happened.
Yeah, you can tell the story.
Yeah.
Well, we were supposed to. We
Corey
bought
won,
koi.
by the way.
I won by default. We picked out koi that day, and he went over a bunch of tips on like how to pick out koi at your local shop or whatever what you're looking for. And we're gonna have a grow out competition, but I won by default because
An otter ate mine.
yeah,
Oh, and it looks so good too. I've never been so upset that a koi got, I was like, dang it. But yeah.
You didn't just do the old swapperoo. You could have done the old swapperoo, the switcheroo.
Yeah. No, I had to tell him. I had an otter come through. It was horrible. I came out one
it's
night.
good that you're an honest guy, but you also have been the guy like, yeah, go get the one from the pond
yeah.
over there.
It's
this big.
Come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how'd you do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
a
sorry that you're such a
professional.
failure, Corey. It's not my fault that you did so poorly.
Yeah. It was a bummer. I opened the back door out of the office and just went, where's that one? I'm
I
looking
really
around.
like that pond right out back behind the office there.
Yeah.
Really
I got to
great
get some
otter
koi back
display.
in it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's cold out right now,
Yeah.
and there are predators around, so
Yeah.
not-
That otter got an expensive dinner. I don't even think I've eaten a meal that good before, right?
Yeah.
Like he cleared that whole pond out.
How
So-
much value in that pond roughly is that? Like, oh, there went, $5,000 or
There was a
more,
few
or-
fish that were quite nice, right?
Yeah.
Like I had one of them actually up on koi.com for sale.
Yeah.
And I think we had an $1,800 price tag on it. And
Yep.
then and of course, like the day it gets eaten,
Mm-hmm.
hey, do you have that Showa?
Oh,
like,
no.
I'm really interested in that. Can you tell me
Oh,
about that fish? I'm
no.
like, yeah, I can tell you about it. It's no longer available.
Just got eaten.
Yeah, so of course, it's got to happen at that point. But
If you want some soup, maybe we can put that together
I've
for
got
you.
a head still.
Oh
It's
man.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. There was probably a few $1,000s worth of stuff in there. So
Yeah.
those otters have done us a number this year. But
That's why you're building the fences and
we're
stuff.
building the fences right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's just one of the, I guess, I don't know what's the word. Unfortunate parts of farming is predator control and the work that has to go into it.
Yeah, expensive. But the opposite is they eat all your koi.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's an investment, but it's one we have to do.
Yeah.
The chat's saying Corey planted the otter.
He could have.
Or he bribed the otter.
That
I may or may not have speed dial on 1-800 dial an
that
otter.
heron that comes around here is a drone.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we sent that from my place. That's how we keep getting customers coming back, right?
Uh-huh.
Send the heron over.
That's right. He hasn't been over to buy a koi in a while. Well, we could fix that.
Yeah, send the heron.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I've got a couple questions here. Wichita Falls Fish Keeper with a $5 super chat. I'm enjoying the content as always. I bought some leopard frog plecos on Aquabid. Any tips for breeding? My tips are lots of protein foods like frozen bloodworms, that type of thing. And then keep them at least 82 degrees, more like 84. Keep them hot, keep them fed. And then if they came in small, wait 2 or 3 years before you even think about they're going to start breeding for you. So that's been my game plan. Pick them up, sit on them for a long time, and wait it out. That's really all you can do. And the biggest thing is people mix them with other fish, and then they end up getting sick or something ends up happening because they're just like, oh, they're not doing anything, and the plecos hide all the time. And so you got to be really careful. So that's my go-to on breeding those bad boys. The next one is, this is for Corey and his wild bettas. Where did you get them? Other species that have caught your eye, the price range, and information. So information for keeping them, it's going to vary kind of widely on the species. So you're going to have to do that. I've got the strawberry bettas. You can pick them up on, like, Aquabid would be a good place. And a lot of the ones I'm interested in are the mouth brooding bettas, but there's, like Betta simplex, Betta pugnex, those are all mouth brooding ones. There's some other that are not doing that, but you kind of got to research each one. Like Betta macrostoma, really expensive, really low pH, that type of thing. And I don't really have any general tips other than lots of, let's say, tannins in the water, I guess, like the way we set up the tank. But in general, Aquabid has always been the best source for me to buy them. And I would say the price is anywhere from $9.99 a fish to $150 a fish. And
My go-to has always been the wet spot. They have almost always either knew when they were going to come in or had them available. But they're really close. Their shipping has always been really close because they're coming Portland to Seattle. And it's like, they're like, yes, we put it on a truck and they drive it to your house. And you're like, okay, yeah,
Next
cool.
morning, there it is.
You're right. So it might not be like wherever you're located, they might not be a great pick. But Aquabid, for sure, you can definitely find them there.
Well, and the wet spot is usually always on Aquabid, so that's why I send people there, because you'll get those plus anyone else, maybe local breeders or maybe not even local, but just hobbyist breeding them, because once you have them cranking out, you got too many of them. And
I always liked the wet spot because you could call the people that handle their shipping. It's like a different phone number or whatever. Like you call the shipping people and you're like, hey, what do you got? And do you have a pair? Do you have 2 pair? Do you have something? Do you have these? And they're like, oh, and they'll actually let you know, which is cool. Same kind of thing with your store. If I call your store, like Allie or Robert or whoever will go run around and be like, let me go check, which is yeah, I like that. I like calling because I'm 100,000 years old.
I hate the phone. I avoid the phone at all costs.
Of course, always texting me, and I'm like, can you just call? I'm driving.
Nope.
Car.
Can never happen.
No.
Yeah, I'm more of the phone guy too.
Yeah.
Texting thing.
Well, Paul, he's the one that has a 5,500 gallon pond that's new to the hobby. And he says, this has got to be your question because I don't know this koi. He says, have you ever had karasu?
Karasu, yeah.
Yeah. And your thoughts on it, I guess? I don't know. I don't know that fish.
Yeah, we do occasionally. There isn't really many breeders that breed specifically for that. It's usually something that's kind of it happened in a breeding. Karasu is like an all black koi.
Okay.
So you've probably seen them.
Yeah,
before,
yeah. I've
That's
brought
right.
him
I know you have one at your place.
Yeah, and
one of your handlers, of course I can't remember their names,
Yeah.
but one of your handlers was like, he's over there. You have
that
to
out.
look
Yeah.
really hard. I'm
yeah,
like,
there's some pictures, right?
Okay.
Karasugoi. Karasu in Japanese is like, I think it's crow. I think it's the word for crow.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Karasugoi usually have black, and then maybe on the belly of them they'll be white.
Okay.
So guys don't typically breed specifically for them, but they'll come from breedings of other stuff. Matsukawa.
And isn't that
stuff
one the
like
one that isn't like the story or whatever? It wards off bad luck. Is that the one?
Magoi.
Oh, Magoi.
Yeah,
is
Magoi.
that
It's
one.
kind of more like a standard carp. Sort of.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, Magoi, and it's kind of rolled itself into fish like that, and Chagoi kind of have taken the place too,
Right.
right? So, yeah, but I think originally the story was Magoi. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ward away bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Any way you can. Yeah.
that's what people would come in for that. They're like, and it was usually like if you lost it, until you got another one, you like bad luck would be happening.
Yeah,
you
keep
know, and
calling,
so
"Do
it's
you
like
have one? Do you have one?"
they'd used to be
Yeah.
like frantic to get another
Yeah.
one. You're like, you don't understand. My life is falling apart without this thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, but I'm trying to get some.
trying to
We
get 'em.
get them maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and usually small,
Yeah.
like 6 or 7 inch size. In the spring mostly, and
Yeah.
early summer. Rest of the year, I don't see them much. So
So Cody asks, what are your thoughts on above ground swimming pool ponds?
a lot of people are using them now. They work good in different climates. They work better than others, I guess, because some get really cold. But a lot of people are using, I think they're Intex is the brand, Intex pools.
Yeah, I think that's essentially the one I have.
Yeah, and they're.
I think mine's
don't know.
technically a dream pond, but
Oh, okay.
it's
similar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a frame and it's got the material. And I don't know nowadays, but years ago, like manufacturers used to put some stuff in the plastics, probably for algae control and stuff.
Yeah.
So you'd want to be careful that it doesn't have some kind of a chemical in it or something. But I'm pretty sure I've used the Intex ones myself. So
yeah.
as far as I know, they're okay. And a lot of people in koi are using them because you can get them quite big and they're really cheap.
Yeah.
Like, for a multi-thousand-gallon pond, it's, $120 or something. It's pretty cheap. So they
You
work
could
good.
always dig a hole and put it in the ground.
Maybe. Yeah.
Now, see,
Well,
the reason I got into it is because I rented, and I didn't want to
Right.
dig giant holes and be like,
You could still dig a giant hole and put it in the ground.
true.
You just fill it back in with the dirt when you move out.
That's what I'm against. I'm against
Make
that
a pile
whole-
out back and.
I mean, I still had to like flatten it out because I like dug it out a little bit. So I put like 2-inch foam down before I put it on, and I still had to like fill that back in when I left. So it's still like
That was enough.
not my favorite
Yeah.
thing. Because when you build the pond, let me just say this: when you build the pond, it's probably decent weather. You're going, yeah, let's build a pond. When you decide to move, it's not necessarily good weather. I remember it like raining
Probably
and
isn't.
like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm moving mud, and I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah.
So I learned a lesson there of like, easy to set up, not so easy to tear down.
I've had good luck with those above ground pools. They've worked fine. My only trouble I've ever had with them is putting them inside of greenhouses, and I think the hot and then cool and hot and cool
Oh.
kind of made the material a little brittle over
Okay.
time. Over time being a couple of years. But,
Yeah.
But outside they've held up just fine.
Yeah, because I haven't had any problems with
Yeah.
because I was thinking UV, but I was like, wait, it'd be the same
No,
UV.
they're
that
stable,
I'm
I
getting.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So yeah. Let's see. What do we got? I'm trying to
I
think
want to know how you guys met.
how we met. I think we met from me needing to buy koi.
I think so.
I think I'm trying to think of like the events that led me going to your place. I probably was looking for koi, and I must have Googled and found that like koi.com or something like that was in Washington.
Yeah, you were like
Tell you a
surprised.
story about
Down the
two
street.
buckaroos.
Because I know the story. I know the store I used to work for didn't buy koi from you, so it had to have been that.
Yeah.
I don't think because I didn't keep
Was it back when you guys were riding and roping on the old trail
close to that. Yeah,
back in the day?
close to
That's
that.
when you opened your shop.
I think it was when I
fence.
opened the shop because I think the current wholesalers I had, my logic has always been I want to like, oh well, I want a better quality or something like that, and they wouldn't bring in anything from Japan or anything like that. And I was like, well, I want to at least offer some higher end koi, and so I basically buy your lowest end stuff, which is a fish that retails at like $50 or so, which isn't anything crazy, but definitely. Well, I think maybe it was like the first season. I think maybe what happened was the first season came, and everyone was asking me, why don't you have like these Japanese patterns? Because they were all just kind of like Jinrin scale or butterfly, or that's the stuff I can get out of Singapore and that type of stuff. And it's cheap, and we retail it at like $10, and you sell a ton of it. But there was people definitely looking for the higher end stuff. And maybe one of the customers had told me like, oh yeah, over in Kenmore is where you were, and I'm sure eventually I wandered over.
I think it was pretty early on in your shop though.
Yeah,
in
it
Edmonds,
definitely couldn't have been past the second year, and I bet you it was the first year, because I opened up, and I bet you sales just fell right off. And I'm like, oh geez, I gotta get into this koi thing like way heavier than I thought. And
it's funny, the busy season for you is the slow season for me. Like koi's not so hot in the wintertime and is crazy good in the summertime, and your aquarium business is hot in the wintertime, and
So it probably, I know I bought very few koi from you, but it was the fact that I could come over and like hang out and learn, I think that's how I learned to identify any of them. I'm not good at it, but I'm good enough to at least sell what we sell and identify things. And, like I can be like, oh yeah, it's Shirutsuri and Doitsu. Oh, but I didn't know it actually has this name when it has both those traits, like I haven't memorized all that kind of stuff yet, because usually that's like, oh yeah, that's the realm of fish I can't afford.
Doitsu's your favorite.
Yeah, I do love the scale
at the koi show last year, did you bring all Doitsu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I did bring one Metsuba.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I brought one Metsuba that last year didn't place last year, but the year before it did. And in general, I think it's for me harder to find a lot of the cool Doitsu patterns I like, and so it allows me to curb my spending. Because if I just buy any of the fish I like, well, then I'm just buying tons of fish. But like, no, I only want Doitsu version. Oh, you don't have it? Phew.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. I did want to talk about butterfly koi.
Yep.
Because they're like the best-selling koi at my store, probably. And I remember talking to you, and you said they're not even represented at the Japan show and that kind of stuff, right?
No.
Do any shows in Japan allow them?
Not that I'm aware of. In America, there's a category for them.
Yeah.
Shows. I think they're really popular in America, but not so much other places. I don't really know in Europe. I don't think so, though. I think America is pretty much the only place. And
weird.
Yeah. Most koi shows they'll categorize them based on the type of koi they are, and then size. And they'll always have a category for longfins, and then they'll make a longfin champion. So the best one out of all of it will take that award at most shows.
So who's making longfin koi then? If Japan, is Japan making them?
There's a couple breeders in Japan.
Oh.
Yeah, but not. It's not a big deal yet. There's two breeders in Niigata that breed longfins every year. One is named Yamazaki, and the other is Suda. And they both breed longfins, and we buy their longfins small. We usually don't buy big ones, but we get a lot of them in the
now
spring.
that you're talking about longfins, we got to get down to brass tacks here. How much for that big platinum longfin one there? Vicky wants that one bad.
Yeah, what was something like that thing worth roughly in a range?
Oh,
is that that's $5,000 and up? Is that okay?
No, maybe $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah, right in there.
That doesn't seem that bad. Somehow when the animal's bigger, it doesn't seem as bad. Like, that's worth it. Yeah, that thing's huge. Look at that.
It's huge.
That's
a huge
clearly
fish.
worth lots of money. Where, it's hard, especially for me at the store, to convince people like just because it's small didn't make it cheap. Like, if anything, it's almost the opposite. Like, it's got more potential while it's still young. So it's a weird.
They grow fast.
I got some pure black King Kongs back in the day, And people are like, those are $300 for a shrimp this big?
Wow.
Yeah.
How long does it live?
Each. Not that long. You got to breed them like a gangster.
Yeah, well, at least with koi, if you're good at keeping them, you'll probably keep them for
there's
20 years
there
or
was
something.
one in Japan that's like the mythology of it is that it's 300 years old. But some of the rough guesstimates that I saw is that it might be 80 years old.
That's feasible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most people have an accident with their pond, or an otter shows
Life
up or
intervenes,
something, right? Yeah. So they usually don't keep them as long as they're going to live. But there's some hobbyists around here that have had koi those koi are over 30 years old,
Right.
and still look pretty good.
Still cruising,
Yeah,
doing
kind of
it.
maybe human years. Maybe they're in their 60s, kind of equivalent.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they're cruising. They could live another 10, 12, 15 years, probably no problem.
So one of the questions that I had coming in, and I did see it in the chat, but I don't know who asked it, so I can't say. But one of the questions I had coming in was, is there a big difference between keeping, and this would be health-wise, like for the fish, keeping them in a community or keeping them isolated? Is it best to have
Definitely
multiples?
happy together, a lot happier together, no question. It doesn't have to be a huge school of them or a huge pack of them, but having a partner in there, they definitely are in better shape. Yeah, when we isolate koi, they don't get real happy.
Right.
You can just tell they're just a little off. And I think it has to do with the fact there's not a buddy in there with them,
So would it be maybe groups of 5 or more? Is that kind of experience-wise? Well, I mean, I know
3
that...
or more, or 5 or more.
Okay.
Yeah.
In that kind of range is what you'd want to be shooting for.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to be the guy that's going like, oh, I'm just going to go buy one fish and then it'll be good.
If you were keeping it in an aquarium, I'd say 3 or more. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're never, aggressive towards each other
Oh, no.
at all.
Yeah. They
I've
get
had
along.
one koi ever that had but we were dumb, and we took this koi that was like over 3 feet long, and we put it in a pond with koi that were like this big.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we had a predator coming, right?
Because
koi don't eat koi, right?
Yeah.
Well, that one did.
I maintain
No,
the
it
fish,
might even
any
have been-
fish that fits in another fish's mouth goes
That might
there.
have just been accidental. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, he accidentally ate about 60 fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, it's old.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like food. Oh,
Kinda
goes
looks
right
like
in
Cheetos.
there. Yep.
Yeah.
Crunchy.
I know one of the first, I kind of want to make this tank, but before I owned fish tanks, I had another buddy who I never talked about that had a 90-gallon tank, and it had like one platinum koi, one black koi, and like one red one, and like a dojo loach. And I remember thinking that thing was the coolest thing I had ever seen. And then eventually built a pond for them. But I haven't done it because I'm like, the internet will never forgive me for putting koi into an aquarium.
Yeah.
And that
Gonna
guy,
have to break
they
it
were
down.
awesome. Yeah,
Start breaking that.
Yeah, they were awesome, and he had to do a lot of water changes and stuff and whatever, but he did it, and they were like probably, because I was not into fish, they were probably like 10 or 12 inches, but I'm thinking like, oh man, this thing's like 18 inches. This things are huge.
Yeah.
But I almost did koi in the big 800-gallon, but now it's got my brain turning again, going, maybe I just do another big tank with koi in it. I have nowhere to put it, but maybe I do that.
Yeah.
You get a big tank, we'll figure out where to put it.
Something will be in there.
Break down the walls. Break it down.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
I got a question.
I know a guy with a sledgehammer.
What question you got, Jimmy?
On his website,
Yep.
there's cool names for the koi.
Uh-huh.
How do you get those names?
Those are the names of the farms have like a lineage of koi they keep track of, right? So a parent koi.
Steven and Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred's the male and Barbara's the female. Yeah. So they keep track of all that stuff. So when we buy a koi of kind of higher quality, they have followed the trail basically from when it was spawned. So you'll know who the parent koi was.
Oh, that's cool. So you
And-
actually have the lineage.
Yeah, and then even before that, like that parent koi came from this particular bloodline, so you can kind of follow it and see. It gives you kind of an indication of it might develop like this.
They're like tracking their family tree better than a
Yeah.
lot of people do.
Oh yeah, and it helps. I mean, when somebody's buying expensive koi, they want to know what might happen with it over time, and
Okay.
so if they know what the parents are like and how that's developed, it makes it a little easier.
That's cool.
So those names come from that, from those parent koi, usually the female.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, like the koi that wins the All Japan show, now that fish is probably done showing in Japan, she'll either go home to the hobbyist place in China, or maybe the breeder will ask them, can we breed this koi?
Yeah.
And so then that koi will the owner of that koi, the hobbyist, will give that koi a name.
Oh.
So that's how they get their names. So some of them are really funny.
Yeah.
Like, where'd that name
Or
come
some of
from?
them like, oh,
Yeah.
his daughter. Like, I'm going to name it after my daughter. So
Right.
that carries
Yeah.
through the koi line
Yeah,
or
the
something.
guy that bought the fish from us that won the All Japan show in 2008, he named it after his daughter.
Okay.
Alexandria is his daughter's name, so he named the koi that. And so then the bloodline became Alexandria bloodline. Or some of the ones on the website now might be, some of them are goofy, but there's some like, one was called Love Rain.
Huh.
I don't know where they came with that name, but
My name is Sassy the Destroyer if I ever win.
Yeah.
After my dog.
I love rain.
Yeah. So Cody asks, couldn't find on the website, but is local pickup available? He lives close.
Yeah, definitely. We're open to the public on Fridays and Saturdays, every Friday and Saturday. And then during the week, we're doing a lot of wholesale stuff. So we're
Yeah.
kind of to and from the airport, to and from FedEx. So a lot of that. So we're in and out and in and out. It's hard to kind of, if people call ahead and say, hey, can I come by on Wednesday at noon and pick up
Yeah.
my fish or something? Sure. But
And then, because I know we haven't shown it on here
That's
yet.
what we call by appointment.
by
Yes.
appointment, yeah.
Do you auction the fish every week, even during the winter?
Yeah, every week.
And what is that? It's a different website than koi.com,
Yeah,
right? What
it's-
is the website?
It's
Jimmy can pull
pronounced,
it up.
It's pronounced nishikigoi.com, but it's NISHIKIGOI.com.
Let's see if Jimmy
American
can-
people say it nishikigoi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've bought fish off this before, and I've locally picked them up.
Yep.
And what I really like about it is
Nishiki.
they all start at like $50 or something, or $25.
Ishiki
Yeah, some at 25, some at 50. It's usually just kind of size based. You know, smaller koi we start out lower.
Yeah.
and bigger
And
koi
I think new koi get uploaded every Sunday.
every Sunday. Yep.
I know I get a newsletter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
so-
Sunday. Auctions end at 4:00 every Sunday, and new ones go up about
Yeah.
1:00 every Sunday. So.
And there's some expensive stuff on there, but there's also a lot of stuff that a guy like me can afford. Like, oh, $50, especially if you're local. It's like, hey, that's only $50. What's shipping on? Let's say someone wins a koi that's 6 or 8 inches. What's the shipping like if they live in across the country?
Yeah, most people, if they win a koi on the auction, they'll have us hold it for a couple of weeks so that they can bid on 2 or 3 of them. Because
Oh.
shipping the 2 or 3 is the same as
Yeah.
one. But if they had to shove a little fish in a box and send it to Orlando, we'll send it priority overnight, so it gets there first thing in the morning. It leaves our place in the evening and then shows up in Orlando at like 10 in the morning. But that in a small box, it could be $75.
Okay, so it's not crazy.
And that's not
Yeah.
crazy,
But it ain't, if you
bigger
can
box
if you can
be.
ship 3 fish for the same
Yeah.
price, you may as
Yeah.
well get 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So most people do that who live out of town, but local people buy fish on there often and just come in and pick them up, take them home.
So the next controversial thing people have been asking in the chat, what about when it comes to koi food and that type of thing? What's your take? What should people be feeding? What's your favorite? How big of a difference does it make? There's a lot of factors there,
Yeah.
but
The biggest difference I've found in koi food, at least like at our place, I don't feed fancy koi food. We got too many fish to feed. So it's just a cost thing. There's too many mouths to feed. So we feed just kind of a really basic food. But I found that the more expensive foods are cleaner. Like
Okay.
the koi can eat it, they take more out of it, and they pass less of it.
so less
The cheaper
filler maybe.
food kind of, right in, right out. So the pond can get quite dirty, or the aquarium can get quite dirty with cheaper foods.
Yeah.
Not always more expensive foods are better, but they tend to be cleaner.
Okay.
Most of them will grow a koi just fine. Actually, I several years ago, I talked to a guy who was breeding koi in the South somewhere. I can't remember if it was like North Carolina or something. Maybe not the South, but North Carolina, I think, is where he was. And he was, a yokel.
Yeah.
And he was feeding dog food
Okay.
to them, and they were growing just fine. Like he had these amazing looking fish, right? So they'll grow off really.
So I was
anything.
joking about cat food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll eat it. I mean, and there's a lot in it. I mean, if it's good for a cat, I mean, a koi will eat it too. But it's usually quite messy. So
Yeah.
kind of purpose-made koi foods, by Hikari and those kind of companies, they're usually the better stuff. And then there's kind of an upper line of Hikari they call Saki Hikari, which is
Yeah.
like even more
I fed
expensive.
that once one year.
Yeah.
I think the bag was $250 or
It's a
something
lot,
like that for
yeah.
a 33
And really,
pound
it's
bag.
not that noticeable. Like
I
the
didn't.
difference.
I didn't feed it
yeah.
again the next year because I was like,
Eh.
I mean, yeah, it worked, but I'm not sure it works better than just feeding them.
Yeah.
The biggest advice or the biggest difference I found, I got from one of your workers, And they were like, yeah, you just got to put it on a feeder, like an auto feeder.
Yeah.
That made way more difference than the choice of food I've ever done.
It did.
Just
yeah.
feeding them. Because you think, like, oh, yeah, I feed them every day, but you don't feed them 5 times a day, every day, like a feeder
Right.
can.
Right. Yeah. You feed them
Yeah.
in the morning and in the evening or something. It's real inconsistent, but small feedings throughout the day are actually really good for koi growth.
Mhm.
Like heavy feedings once a day or twice a day.
Yeah.
They don't seem to grow quite at the same rate. So yeah, a feeder's very good. And, people who have like crazy expensive fish and they're showing them and all of that, like,
Mhm.
I think they can argue about really expensive koi food, but for most people, just, the average hikari stuff or, God, there's a ton of brands out there. I think we sell a brand called Ultra Balance. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of a, middle of the road food. It's good, but, it's not crazy expensive. So
Yeah.
we feed a lot of that at our place, actually.
Someone's asking if you can recommend any breeders, which I think this might be the wrong term, but on the East Coast, I'm thinking more like dealers, because I know you sell wholesale, so you sell to people like,
Yeah.
let's say they wanted Sakai or Omasako fish that basically, from my understanding, there's only a couple people bringing that even into the country, you being one of them, and then from there, you'll ship out to different dealers and stuff like that across the country, right?
Yeah, we shipped actually quite a bunch of dealers on the East Coast. Most of our wholesale customers are not like koi shops, right? So
Okay.
there are a lot of nurseries or garden centers that are kind of a little higher end type of thing, or some pet stores, but not a lot. I would say probably one of the bigger koi dealers that we sell to is actually a real koi dealer only on the East Coast. Is actually he's up in Canada, but on the east side. There's a handful of koi dealers over there. One of the biggest ones, he just recently passed away. He had a really big koi shop over there. But, for good fish, I mean, you can get them anywhere now. I mean, you don't have to necessarily get them off the East Coast. You can get them somewhere and get them shipped to you pretty cheap too. So,
They were hoping to go look at some in person,
Yeah.
even before buying online or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't even sell to them. Is there any place, like let's say you live somewhere over there. I hear that's a big place over there. You
Yeah.
could go look.
yeah, there's a guy I know in, I think he's in New Jersey.
Okay.
And the name of his business is Benihana Nishikigoi, and he breeds but
Okay.
also imports
Yeah.
too. So he's a good outfit.
Maybe we could try to go there.
Yeah,
Jersey.
he's got a good outfit
Jersey.
there.
Aquatic experience.
Yeah.
Oh, right down the street.
Yeah, because
Probably.
it's in New Jersey.
yeah.
It's
so-
probably
He's a nice guy.
It's probably
Yeah.
probably an 8-hour round trip or something.
It might
Yeah.
be way out in the boonies. Yeah, but that's a good outfit. And then if anybody emails me or calls me or something, I can tell them, go to
Specifically-
Waterford Gardens. They're
Yeah,
in this part,
closer
or,
to them,
yeah,
yeah.
different places that we sell to that might be specific to. I live in Rhode Island. Who's here?
Mhm.
I can throw them that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can contact through your website, and you'll tell them. And that's a good thing because they ship wholesale. Like whether you buy it from them directly or from one of the dealers, you're still getting paid for your time, and you're helping out the dealer and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
all right. Let's see here. What do we got? I think it's about time for word of the day.
Uh-oh. Word of the day.
Yeah. Now I know why you said that word before. I was like, man, this is a
I was
random
looking
word.
at it.
Yeah, I did. Now okay. Yeah.
All right. So here we go. A native. Oh, it's a noun. Sorry. I forgot to say the noun part. It's a naive or gullible inhabitant of a rural area or small town.
And it's been used in the episode
It's
today.
been used in the episode today. So I don't know if anybody can come up with it.
While we're waiting to address it, someone says, Corey, why would you plug other dealers when Zach is here? It's pretty rude.
Eh,
Because he sells to them and he makes money. That's like me if I was wholesaling to someone and they buy $400,000 from me.
If I was a wholesaler and I sold to the aquarium co-op,
Yep. And then you say, go buy stuff from Aquarium Co-op. That still makes you money.
yeah, it'd be like, yeah, that's the chain.
Yeah,
I
that's
like
the supply
supporting.
chain.
I like supporting the dealers of ours that buy from us. I
Yeah.
mean, the more that they sell, the better for everybody. So yeah.
And you got to realize we've also been knowing each other for 5 years, and I know that he wants the support, and he routinely will send people like, oh, you want to see it in person? Great, go to that dealer. We sell to them. That's where you can get Sakai koi from this person. That's why they would buy from Zach, is because he has koi.com and he'll send people there and that type of thing. So it's one of those,
The koi business world is really interesting. I have a customer that he's in kind of the construction industry, and he always says, man, my competition and me, like, we hate each other. People in construction industry don't like each other, but in the koi world, like, dealers and
Who's first? Terry's
they
Tropical.
all like each other. So
Terry's Tropical got it first.
yeah.
Although
yokel.
spelled wrong. Quickly followed by Michael Moncour. What's up, Michael? Good to see you. Yeah, a lot of people got it. A lot of people got it pretty quick.
So also, I just want to bring
it
up
during the show. So
I want to
I
bring up.
blew it. I didn't know there
it
was
was
a word of the
yokel.
day.
It was yokel.
Oh,
Oh,
that's,
no.
you didn't. Yeah, you didn't know it was word of the day.
It's not a
That's
big
fine.
deal. You're just reading it. But yeah, the quick fun fact is the origins of yokel are uncertain, but it might have come from the
koi world.
The dialectal English word yokel, meaning green woodpecker. Other words for supposedly naive country folk are chaw bacon, from chaw meaning chew and bacon, hayseed, which has obvious connections to country life, and clodhopper, indicating a clumsy, heavy-footed rustic. I use clodhopper. I use that one.
I've heard that one
I use
before.
hayseed, but I've never used chaw bacon. That's a pretty
Never
good
heard
one.
of that one.
Chaw bacon. Like that's just
I mean, I probably said, chaw. I'll take some bacon.
chaw bacon. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Is there a way to prevent koi pox?
Not really. Koi pox is it's pretty much just kind of inherent. It's going to be there. You know what? I have experience with it in keeping koi for a long time. They start to develop it when they get older. But, I don't keep koi very long. So I don't, my experience and what it's hard for me to kind of relay a lot of my experience because I've been keeping thousands of fish and moving them in and moving them out. That's kind of been our business, right? So I don't have a ton of experience with actually getting rid of carp pox. I mean, I've tried to physically remove it before and had relatively good success with it, but it's, it's like a viral thing. So it can come right back. So,
well, I know I attended like a koi disease talk with Dr. Tim Miller-Morgan, and there's even different strains. Like there's one supposedly in the Northwest, it's not been officially described, but they're calling it like the Cascade crud and that kind of stuff. And so it's like a mutation. And the reality is there's not enough money being put behind it to how to eradicate it. So it's kind of like, oh, you just don't mix it and you start over and, you
avoid buying koi with it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the logic. And
it's hard to tell though. I mean, but you'll see it in older koi typically, or a lot of times people will give koi to somebody else and that's where it moves it around. Yeah. But
because koi, when you get them shipped in, I think I was talking about don't they have to get a certificate before they leave Japan, or is it when they enter this country?
Coming into this country, they have to have a health certificate for that the farm is SVC free, which is SVC is also a virus that's kind of similar to KHV. So that's a requirement in America because SVC is a reportable disease.
Okay.
Which means if a farm got it and a vet found it there, they have to report it to APHIS, which is a government agency.
Yeah.
But that's the only required permit import.
Because I know when I bring goldfish or koi in, I have to pay a fee to my trans-shipper that they had to have that kind of paperwork done and all that kind of stuff.
So we pay for that on every shipment, right? And it's just a thing that says that the government, the OIE or whatever in Japan had tested that farm, and they don't test it every time, but they test it periodically
enough that they're confident. In the last year we've tested it once or twice, and they still haven't had it for 6 years running. So it's unlikely that it's coming out of that farm.
Yeah, SVC is the only one KHV that's not a reportable disease in America, so it's not required. And it's pretty much because it's just endemic. It's everywhere in America. It's been here for a long time. So they're not worried about it getting into the waterways, natural waterways or something, and causing some kind of a problem. So it's not really a requirement, but do have to have that.
I see.
And shipping koi to Canada now is Lots of fun.
Oh, to Canada, going into Canada's?
Yeah, they have
Okay.
a lot of requirements to send koi from America to Canada, but we jump through the hoops.
Yeah.
Makes it
that's-
just more expensive for the Canadian buyers, unfortunately. But
People ask me all the time, why don't you ship stuff to Canada? And it's like, Canada makes it really difficult for Americans to do business in Canada. It's not impossible. It's just, it becomes one of those things like it's so difficult. It's easier to expand different parts of your business than it is more into Canada.
yeah, so I think it's easier to directly import koi from Japan to Canada than it probably would be to send them through America to Canada. Yeah. So, but it's really doesn't make a lot of sense for some dealers to go buy koi in Japan and bring them back because you kind of have to get so many of them.
Yeah.
That it just doesn't make sense economically. But a lot of koi dealers, even small koi dealers, they go over once a year or once every few years just for the experience and that they pick those koi out and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. How often, or what percentage of the fish are fish that you're actually picking out? Because I think you go every year to pick out fish, right?
Yeah, I go. Well, last year I went 7 times just for buying.
Right.
So quite frequently. Most of it is not hand picked. I would say most of the little stuff, like we'll buy the whole pond or something.
Okay.
Or, there's 2,000 of them here. Okay.
But you look at it and you go, of what's in that pond, I like what's in there, so I'll take it all type of deal?
Yeah, pretty much. Like we'll bowl up some little fish, look at them in the bowl, I'll check them out if it fits the price that I need to fit for wholesale or whatever.
And is that what you're mostly looking at, going, okay, if I bought this pond, I think this fish will be able to sell in America at this price. That makes sense? Or are you going, I don't like the kohakus in here? Or is it mostly
I might
just...
pass on that, or I might ask the breeder what it's going to cost to buy them without the kohaku or something.
Okay.
Right? But more bigger and better fish, it's a lot of hand selecting. Yeah, small stuff, just pretty much buy the pond or say, I'll take 500 of those or something kind of thing. Like the Shiro Utsuris we get in, right? The little Omosako ones. I don't hand pick all 500 of them. I just got some coming in soon, and there's 500 of them coming, and I leave it up to Omosako to pick out a nice, general representation of the mix that he has.
And when you're over there, do you say like, oh, we like it when they're this kind, and they can remember that? Or okay.
Yeah, you can kind of specify how you need to get them for your customers. For us, a lot of people actually like them with quite a bit of black up already.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And they're easier to sell that way. But most of the rest of the world likes them with very little black, and then they slowly develop into it.
I see.
So, but for America, then the black's good. We get
So as an American buyer, like, how much of the market is America? Like when you go
small.
over there, so we're like,
Small.
oh yeah, the Americans over here. Did you want some of these?
There's,
or is it
the Shinkokai dealers in America, they're kind of the bigger koi dealers, the people who are going to Japan frequently, several times a year to buy koi.
Yeah.
And there's I think 14 of us now. Right?
Okay.
So it's pretty small. There's a bunch of us, but it's small amounts all the time that we're bringing back versus some places are buying ridiculous amounts of koi and having them shipped out. Europe buys a lot.
Huh.
So there's companies actually in Japan that are run by native European people, speak Japanese and German or something, and they ship hundreds and hundreds of boxes to Japan like a week.
Huh.
So they buy quite a lot in Europe.
I just always assumed since we had so much land, we'd consume a lot, but
Yeah, everybody says that too in Japan. Like, America's so big, though. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, but everybody's so damn spread out. They're everywhere, right? Like, so it's not like Europe. Europe's like everybody's pretty tight in there. So
Right.
everything flies into Frankfurt, and then they send them all over to these different countries
Right.
and dealers. And here it's kind of like West Coast is the best place to bring them in. Yeah.
let's see here. Have you spied any good questions? We got about 12 minutes left.
Well, the main questions were like, how do you know what's a good koi or not?
Oh.
Usually, yeah, that's a long-winded question.
Whatever. Yeah. If you like it, like if it just piques your interest, then it's a good koi. You have to live with it.
I think
Yeah.
that's the definition. Like, why is like the Showa, Sankei, and Kohaku so popular? It's like because most people, even like if I bring my wife out to a koi pond, she goes, I like that one. And it happens to be one of those. So I think it's just popularity contest. And then, if you're trying to win a show, there's standards.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
I know you've always told me, like, I don't know, do you like that one? Yeah, you should get it then.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I pick koi when I go to buy based on what I think's going to sell.
Yeah.
Not really what I like.
Mm-hmm.
I like stuff that's wild and very different and unique.
Because you probably see it all and you're going, hey, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, it's maybe a standard variety, but it'll be a kohaku with some kind of offset, unique pattern or something, right? So a good koi is just what you love, what looks cool. And then the quality plays a role into it. Like lower quality koi, the color won't be as good. The sharpness of the edges of the pattern might not be real crazy good. They might kind of bleed into the white or something. So quality is kind of you can't fix quality. So when you buy a koi, you want to buy a koi that's good quality to start. And, you can grow it, you can make it a better body, those kind of things.
So pretty much bad quality doesn't get better, but good quality can get worse as it grows out?
You could blow it out, yeah. But, start with good quality. And really, most Japanese koi are going to be good quality, right? Most.
Right.
Yeah. So I'd say Japanese koi would be a good place to start, but then just take what you love, what looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way I've explained it sometimes is like, it's really hard to differentiate between koi. You don't know a whole lot about them, that type of thing, because maybe you're new to the hobby. But it's like if you go to a restaurant where each plate is $300, and then you say, what's good here?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, well, if there was something that wasn't good here, there's a problem.
Right.
So and that's what I try to explain to people is like, by the time they're $50 in my store, they've already been looked at by X amount of levels of professionals that go, oh, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. And at $50 is still good. But, I know you've shown me at your place before where you're like, yeah, this fish is, 6 inches and it's 1 year old. And then this fish that's 18 inches is also 1 year old. And genetics are different and the patterns are different. But at the end of the day, both those fish are still really good. Because I'm assuming you don't have fish where like, oh, that's over there is just garbage. It's not really in your best interest to bring low quality in with your reputation.
No, when I buy like a big group of koi, say, 1,000 fish or something that are a certain size, and the intention was wholesaling them, and so we're shipping boxes and boxes, and we start to get down to the very end of it. Yeah, there's some that you'd say, and we kind of blow them out and give them a really cheap price to get them out the door. But
I gotta get those ones.
Give me a call.
I like the bumblebee ones too, the black and yellow ones. Which of course I can't remember the name, so I call them bumblebees.
Bumblebee ones.
Yeah.
Hey, if you love them.
That's the thing. If you like
Zach's gonna hit me over the head if I keep calling him bumblebee.
What's the official name on black and yellow?
Well, it could be a Kiutsuri, which is kind of yellow and black. There's also a variety called Kinkiutsuri, which is like a metallic. It's got like a metallic skin to it, and it's kind of a yellow and black, sometimes an orange and black. But
isn't there a yellow version of the Mitsuba?
There is a yellow version of a Matsuba. There's also sometimes you can see. Rarely you ever see them, but there's also a yellow version of a Beko. Occasionally, but
so it's got the black and the yellow like that. Yeah,
I'm gonna point it out. Jimmy's gonna find it.
He's finding the koi.
It's that one.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yeah, like this one right here.
Oh,
yeah.
Now I'm pointing at the wrong thing. That one.
Yeah, probably a Kiutsuri.
Yeah, Kiutsuri.
Yeah,
Kiutsuri.
Yeah.
Whereas like red and black would be the Hyutsuri, right?
Right.
Yeah,
red and black would be a Hyutsuri.
I like Hyutsuri a lot.
That Beko one looked pretty cool.
Yeah, Beko you can get yellow and black too, but pretty rarely do you ever see the yellow and black Beko anymore.
Rare's never a great word for me.
Rare doesn't go well with affordability.
Yeah, nobody really breeds Beko anymore, I don't think. I'm not sure if anybody
is
ever
Beko
really
named after
maybe I need to breed those person? Then if no one else is doing
Beko,
it.
I think in Japanese is like tortoise.
Who would you say?
Tortoise shell.
This was a question I was going to ask because I know that you guys don't do a ton of breeding here.
No, we don't.
But I know that you had a breeding program that you were shipping fish back and forth to do breeding programs, which you're not doing now. So it's sort of we'll just move past that. But are there any good breeders in the United States that are breeding koi?
Yeah, there are. And actually in America, the quality of the koi are getting better and better and better. 20 years ago, they weren't real good.
Right.
But now they're starting to look, really good. I mean, I don't think that they'll quite catch up to Japan.
Okay, so
But-
which one aren't being bred in the United States then?
Good. I'd say for America, bred koi, Purdon Koi Farm is breeding very good koi now. Like you put them next to Japanese koi, and
Like they could compete at the show, basically.
people would look at them and not really know the difference.
That's
in
a
lot
good
of
question.
cases. Yeah.
Can you bring koi that aren't from Japan to the All Japan show?
No.
Oh, so it has to
Yeah.
only be
Yeah. Once a koi's left Japan, can't come back in. So
Ever?
It's out. It's
like
out.
even not even at the show, just straight up
Yep.
Not
koi.
even-
You
not
can't
even-
import koi into Japan.
No.
Not even to the country, no.
Well,
Is that
I don't
a
know if
dis-
you can't import them, but I'm
Is that like
Oh.
a disease thing or?
yeah, and
Huh.
yeah. So anything that goes to those shows that is even like 9 years old and huge, it's lived its entire life in
Yeah,
Japan.
that makes a lot more sense because whenever you would tell me that, I could not figure out like, wait, so people are paying for their fish to live in Japan. I didn't realize if they leave Japan, they can never go back.
Yeah,
so that makes
they're out.
sense when you're trying to win a championship. It's like you can't I can't put it in my backyard, grow it for
Right.
10 years, then send it back to
Right.
Japan.
They leave it with the breeder typically,
Oh.
and then the breeder cares for it over the course of its life and conditions it. And
Huh.
conditioning koi for that koi show starts when the koi show ends.
Right.
So if a breeder or a dealer has koi that they think are going to be competitive next year, they're starting right now to prepare it for that show in a year. So it's quite a process.
I didn't know that. That just seems so foreign to me that koi can't be imported into Japan. That's just like crazy. Like you would think that, like they'd be like, "Oh man, look at that koi over in a random country. We need that in our
Yeah.
bloodline." But
There's some cool stuff coming from some places. I mean, I've seen some really
because they do it
wild
like in
Ginran.
Russia and
Okay,
like
cool stuff I'm
Israel
into.
and-
Rare, I don't know if that's a
I
good
don't
for
know
me.
where it's from. Maybe Malaysia, maybe. But there's a farm. I think they're in Malaysia or
Micronesia.
Singapore, like right in there. And they breed these really cool koi that have their Ginran scales are they're doitsu, and then they have a line of Ginran scales up their back, and
Oh.
it's super shiny. Like it's really cool. That they haven't really perfected the shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But boy, the Ginran's cool. So yeah, it'd be neat to be able to kind of cross that in. That's where Doitsu came from originally, was out of the country. So
how did they get it in Japan then?
Doitsu
Someone
in
smuggled it in?
Japanese is Deutsch, German.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are German carp.
Did they like smuggle it in then, or
I don't know how they
or did
got
they just
there, but I
naturally
think
develop
Japanese
it?
breeders thought that was super cool.
Yeah, and
And,
so it
you
just
know,
magically it appeared.
German people over-engineer everything, right? So
Uh-huh.
they started engineering their carp that they were eating to not have scales, so they didn't have to descale the
That's
fish.
how that came about.
Yeah. So
That's an amazing story.
yeah. So then Japanese breeders thought it was cool, and they
Yeah.
wanted to start using it in their bloodlines. And so I don't know when they came to Japan, but a long time
I've
ago.
never read about that's how
Yeah.
Doitsu came
That's-
about.
that's
It's
why
like
it's-
we need less scales. That takes work.
Doitsu is how
You don't have to
Japanese people
descale a
say
fish
Deutsch.
if it doesn't have scales.
Yeah, you do this crazy breeding project for 30 years so that you don't have to descale your fish
Featherless
anymore.
chickens.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that. Weird.
Huh.
Yeah, really cool.
People are saying they have the same rules against bonsais. You can't-
Do they?
Oh.
Once it's out, it's out.
You
yeah.
can't bring them back in. Yeah, but that's a lot to do with almost any island country. They don't want you bringing in
Yeah.
seeds from anything.
Yeah.
They don't want meat from anywhere. They don't
And
want
maybe stuff
live
can go in,
animals.
but maybe it's a crazy, ridiculous process.
Could be.
Like
Yeah.
for instance, like I know that Japanese is one of the big markets for apples, and
Right.
we're in Washington
Yep.
State, so that's why I kind of know a lot about that. But one of the weird processes that they have to do is to completely decontaminate the apples before they're shipped over, which isn't that crazy. It's like they're basically just make the air inhabitable for anything.
Right.
And then
That's what those big buildings are for over
What's
there.
really cool is in order to maintain that and the freshness of the apple, it's actually it's a two-stroke thing, is that they remove all oxygen from the ship as it's going across the
Wow.
going across the ocean.
That's why they're so
So
expensive.
the apples
in
are
Japan.
super fresh. and no contaminants come through because there's a zero oxygen environment
Yeah.
for them as the boat's going across the whole ocean, so that
involved.
thing's really cool. But yeah, that's a lot with island nations. I mean, with New Zealand, Hawaii is obviously part of America, but you can't just bring stuff in, you can't just fly stuff in. They grab it before it comes in there because if you look in like New Zealand, they threw deer there. And or elk, and they were like, yeah, cool, because we want to come back here and have elk, that's great. And now they're like running rampant because there's no predators there for them.
Australia actually banned the import of koi because they let koi go in the natural waterways there to control something else.
Yeah.
But
Australia is a perfect example of like almost everything that they've done is like, well, we got to go ahead and throw some coyotes out here to get rid of the snakes, and then the snakes and coyotes are all in cahoots now, and now
we'll show them.
Now there's no birds. yeah.
Well, I want to bring up, we're in the last minute or so here. Koi.com does have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, sort of.
Well, you're putting
It's
out
there.
video. It's not not all the time, but you're more active when it's more summertime season. So if you're enjoying Zach and you want more knowledge and that kind of stuff, you can always subscribe to his YouTube channel. You also, I'm following you on Facebook, but also Instagram, right?
Yeah, I'm using Instagram a lot because it's easy.
Yeah. And is it under Koi.com or is it under Pan Intercorp?
It's probably
or?
under Pan Intercorp. Yeah, it's Pan Intercorp. But I think I tag everything Koi.com also, so you can probably just search for it and find it.
Because I know I saw shots of like you at the show judging and stuff like that coming across the feed.
Yeah. I use Instagram a lot just because it's really easy, but we're working on it.
Right.
I've
I'm
been
always
saying that for
pushing
3 years, but
pushing and prodding him to like, we can do more. We can do more. I expect that we'll do some more, both Joel, myself, with you through the summer, because those videos did okay. And I think it'd be safe to say we probably want to get you back, back towards summertime, maybe June, July, where people are buying koi and talk about some different species and good koi to start out with in their ponds and that kind of stuff.
Well, right now is a good time to start gearing up and getting ready for it because
spring's
it's
right
snowing
around the corner.
outside right now, but
sit at the window and watch it snow and go, ooh, that's where the koi pond should
spring
go.
is coming.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Also give you a chance to look through some of the websites and figure out which fish so you can say the name correctly, unlike me.
Yes.
Right?
There's
And then-
actually on our website, we have an encyclopedia, and it talks.
And it talks,
So
huh?
you can click on it. It'll tell you how to pronounce the words, which is good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of
I
old
prefer to go with
technology, but
my
it's
yokel ways and just
Yokel.
go like,
Yeller.
I like that yeller one
Yeller
right
and
over
black.
there.
Yeah. So, and, we've got koi on our website. A lot of times will look crazy expensive, but we have koi that are $25 and we have koi that are $25,000. So they're all over the place. And most of them are not as expensive as the ones that are up on koi.com.
Yeah. And I would say it's a fun trip. Like if you're in Seattle, even just to drive by and be like, just to go see them in person, if it's a Friday or a Saturday, you can just show up and check it out and, see some ridiculously big koi. And you'll wonder, like, is that platinum longfin one $1 billion? Oh, it's only $1,000. Who knew?
Sweet, I'll take her home.
Yeah. And then you do have an event. You do, what is it, the third Saturday of every month or something like that? The koi coffee
every
thing?
Saturday, every third Saturday of the month, we do something in the morning called Koi and Coffee. And I just get coffee in from Starbucks and donuts and all kinds of stuff. And then just tons of koi people come and hang out. And there's people that have been in the hobby for 30 years and there's people that are brand new to the hobby. So it's cool to kind of intermingle and they can ask questions and share stories and stuff. And then we try to do some kind of a presentation or educational thing every time. It's real short, and then it starts at 9 o'clock and runs until people just get tired of being there. So it could be noon, it could be 1 o'clock before everybody is out, but but it's pretty fun, and it's really well attended in the summertime. It really picks up in the wintertime. There's not quite as many people.
I know we've stopped by afterwards and pillaged the donuts before.
Yeah.
We did that
I could
in
go
your
for-
video today.
I could go for a donut right now.
I could too.
I really could.
Yeah.
If there were some here.
There's not,
coffee.
though. All right. The last super chat of the day, and then we're out because we're over time, is the hashtag paid plug. Aqua, I can't even say the last name, a Tyler? Atelier? Atelier? Shout out my channel. There you go, buddy. Type
Shout
that
out.
in, check him out. And we'll try and line up more guests for more shows. Thank you to Zach from Koi.com and Pan Intercorp for being here and sharing the pictures from the show.
Yep.
And I'm sure we're going to invade his space and film some more. If you haven't already and you're still here, go watch Joel's video. He's got a video of us monkeying around at Koi.com that came out today. It's almost like he planned that. Genius.
And people were freaking out in the comments that they were like, where's the big accident? Release the video already, because you and I were talking about it.
Yeah.
It's not me that has the video.
Yeah. Someone else got the
Someone
footage.
else has the footage, so I can't release it.
Don't hold me. Yeah.
Don't hold me responsible for releasing that video because I don't have the footage.
Yeah.
Somebody caught him.
Somebody
though.
else.
Someone got it.
Else has
Someone got it. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for hanging out for a couple of hours, and we'll see who else we can wrangle into the I'm kind of a big deal spot.
Kind of a big deal.
We'll see you next time, guys.
All right. Later.
See ya.